Chapter 26. The Demon Emperor is injured. This human was able to hurt the Demon Emperor. No wonder he is so arrogant and domineering. Since the birth of the Demon Emperor, this is the first time he has been injured by a human. I can't believe it. Even if this human loses the war, he can still brag about it among the human race for many years. All the monsters took a deep breath. In their minds, the Demon Emperor was an omniscient and omnipotent invincible being. But now, he was actually injured by a human. Although the wound was not serious, it seemed that the human did not use his full strength. The shock in the hearts of the 5 demon kings was even stronger than that of the other demon beasts, and they looked at Lin Sheng with fear in their eyes. Because they knew that this was not the first time the Demon Emperor was injured. The Demon Emperor had been injured once before when he used his clone to communicate with this human war god across the space dimension. This is the second time that the Demon Emperor has been hurt by him. The body is injured. The strength of the original body and the clone are not of the same order of magnitude. After Heng Ze's brief moment of shock, he was filled with endless anger. The look he gave Lin Sheng no longer had that indifference, it was almost condensed into a murderous intent. In his rage, Heng Ze's humanoid form showed signs of collapse. The weak human race actually dared to hurt it, and under the watchful eyes of so many monsters, this is unforgivable. Balls of black mist oozed out from Heng Ze's humanoid body. As the black mist completely devoured it, the outline of Heng Ze's humanoid figure gradually blurred until it completely disappeared into the deep darkness, as if being absorbed by the endless netherworld. An extremely evil aura emanated from the depths of the black fog. The inadvertent fluctuations of supernatural power made Su Xingzhou break out in a cold sweat. This kind of aura is definitely beyond S level. What kind of species is this Emperor-level monster? The Demon Emperor is about to reveal his true form. Such a powerful aura. I wonder how powerful the Demon Emperor will be in his prime. I have no regrets in my life or death for being able to witness the true form of the Demon Emperor with my own eyes. Many monsters were extremely excited, and their previous surprise and worry about Heng Ze's injury were swept away. Roar. The moment the deafening dragon roar resounded through the sky, the area covered by the black fog was growing wildly at a speed visible to the naked eye. Lin Sheng's eyes fixed. He is indeed the Demon King of the Demon race, this aura is indeed extraordinary. If Heng Ze's combat power was just at the edge of the star level before, then now Heng Ze's combat power has been fully upgraded to the star level. But Lin Sheng was not panicked at all. He had calmed down his fighting spirit for a long time, but at this moment, he was finally aroused. One-sided crushing is so boring, this kind of evenly matched feeling is what he finds interesting. The Dragon Abyss Demon Suppression Halberd that flew back to his hand from a distance was also shaking wildly, as if responding to his fighting spirit. In order to convince you, I will defeat you when you are at your strongest. Brother Sheng. The best way now is to kill him while he is sick. Once he fully recovers, it will be difficult to defeat him. Su Xingzhou was as anxious as an ant on a hot pan. After all, they were now in a key area of the demon world. What if these monsters have no moral principles and rush forward after the battle? With Lin Sheng and the Monster Emperor both injured, he won't have the capital to resist. Lin Sheng just waved his hand gently. It was not that he was deliberately showing off or pretending to be righteous. Rather, the aura emitted by Heng Ze during the process of transforming into his original form was too terrifying, as if he was protected by some force. Although the source of this power is unknown, the only thing that can be confirmed is that this power definitely does not belong to Heng Ze itself. Trying to interrupt it forcibly at this time seems to be a very unwise choice. Not to mention, this stellar strength does not come from Heng Ze himself, but is a blessing from the demon world beneath his feet. Any way to increase strength is nothing but illusion in the face of absolute power. The process of transformation into the original body lasted less than 3 breaths in total. When the black mist completely dissipated, a dragon covered with black scales appeared in Lin Sheng's sight. The hundreds-foot-long body hovered in the air, giving people an extremely direct sense of visual oppression. Every inch of his skin was covered in scales, and under the light of the demon world, which was already slightly red, it seemed as if it was constantly spewing flames with every breath. On top of the huge head, the long beard fluttered in the wind, which somehow gave it a more righteous image of a sage. Human god of war, you are more powerful than I thought, and you are worthy of my true body to fight you. No living creature has ever been able to survive under my true body. I hope you won't let me down. Heng Ze's tone was no longer as nonchalant as before, but more serious. The fighting power displayed by Lin Sheng was several times stronger than he had imagined. With so many fellow demons watching, it must not lose this battle because of underestimating the enemy. Above the dome, a blazing breath rushed up. The pitch-black flames were like fireworks that would never go out, covering the sky and the sun as they pressed down. Lin Sheng looked up at the sky. The black flames were even hotter and more violent than its fire attributability. The evil aura mixed in it made the black flames look even more powerful and unpredictable. The collision between flames is too boring. Why don't we try a different way of competing? Lin Sheng was not to be outdone, and the flame-dominated power in his body immediately underwent a transformation. The Dragon Abyss Demon Suppression Halberd in his hand was thrown out instantly. The Dragon Abyss Demon Suppression Halberd, which was wrapped in the power of thunder, was extremely fast and looked like a flash of lightning. The pure power of thunder immediately gained the upper hand the moment it came into contact with Heng Ze's black flames. At the moment when the Dragon Abyss Demon Suppression Halberd pierced through the black flames, a dazzling and extremely destructive lightning snake fell from the sky. Boom! The power of thunder was even more powerful than the black flames, and it actually blasted the black flames into nothingness. And this is just the beginning. Break it for me. As Lin Sheng shouted, the lightning snakes seemed to be given life and kept attacking the ground from the dome. Every time Hongza was about to condense the black flame, a lightning snake would disperse it. The frequency and speed of flame condensation and lightning snake appearance are also getting faster and faster, and the two seem to have formed an extremely delicate balance. From the outside, it was impossible to see clearly what happened in the middle. The only thing they could witness was the collision of lightning and fire. Because the frequency of the collisions was too intense, even cracks appeared in the surrounding space. The previous crack has not yet recovered and a new crack has already appeared. The area of a more than 10 kilometers around the two became a restricted area for life, and no one could get close to it. No monster dared to cross the line, because this level of power was enough to crush them into ashes in an instant. Lightning attribute ability. When Su Xingzhou saw Lin Sheng using the lightning attribute ability with ease, he suddenly felt that his brain was not enough. Others might remember it wrongly, but he would never remember anything about Lin Sheng wrongly, especially something as important as his supernatural attributes. Ever since the beginning of human history of superpowers, the superpower attributes awakened by each superpower user have been predetermined and there is no way to change them. Therefore, every psychic subconsciously regards the attributes of supernatural powers as a single and unchangeable existence. Lin Sheng possesses fire attribute abilities and can also skillfully use lightning attribute abilities, which obviously breaks common sense. To put it in a serious way, it has even overturned the understanding of supernatural powers in human history. Chapter 27. At this time, the battle between the two sides entered a white-hot stage. The price to pay for a powerful attack is that the rate at which your energy is consumed is much faster than in normal combat. Feeling that his inner power was gradually weakening, Lin Sheng didn't plan to keep any more cards in reserve. I have never used the secret technique given to me when I bound the system, so I will take this opportunity to try out the power of the Thunder Prison. Although Extreme Flame Fallen is very powerful, the black flame summoned by Hongza seems to be much stronger than his fire attribute ability. It is impossible to fight fire with fire, so we can only find another way from other directions. Analyzing the current situation, focusing on using lightning attributes is the key to changing the situation. And the Thunder Prison is naturally the most suitable secret method. After Lin Sheng made up his mind, the offensive strategy also changed. A hint of surprise flashed in Hongza's huge dragon eyes. Lin Sheng actually gave up using his lightning ability to fight from a distance and chose to attack head-on. You know, Lin Sheng's ability release speed is not slower than his, and even faster. If the trend continues, it will be exhausted to death by Lin Sheng sooner or later. The only explanation for the person who had the upper hand giving up the advantage voluntarily was that he could no longer maintain this level of attack intensity. Ha 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 ha, the human body is weak after all. It looks like you can no longer withstand this level of energy consumption. Based on the supernatural power you just displayed, you are already one of the best among all humans. Join the demon tribe. Become their helper. Hongza's deafening laughter spread throughout the entire demon world almost instantly, and all the demon beasts seemed to recognize this sign of a reversal of the situation. The demon emperor is indeed the strongest. Humans can only compete with him for a short period of time, but they can't stand it in the long run. Being strong for a while does not make you a strong person. You have to be strong all the time to be worthy of the title of a strong person. I really hope that the demon emperor can kill him by mistake. Such a powerful human must have very delicious flesh and blood. Hehehe. It seems that we can recruit the human war god this time, so our idea of a euro eating a buffet in human territory can be realized soon. Amid the loud cries of many monsters, Hongza raised his sharp claws and swung them violently, and the energy he swung out directly created several cracks in the space. This was the purest power, without using any supernatural powers, and it was clearly intended to chop Lin Sheng into pieces. Secret method, Thunder Prison. Lin Sheng's voice was very soft, so soft that Hongza, whose 5 senses were extremely sensitive, almost didn't hear it. But as soon as he finished speaking, dense silver lightning snakes instantly covered the space around him. That violent aura seemed to be able to shatter everything in this world into dust. Because the distance was too close, even Hongza, who had the strength of an emperor, could not evacuate quickly. Feeling the terrifying aura emanating from the sea of a euro thunder, Hongzi definitely didn't dare to use his own body to resist it. He remembered very clearly the pain when Lin Sheng injured his eyes. This human who had hurt him time and again could no longer be judged by common sense. He had to be extremely careful. Hongza mobilized all the supernatural powers he could control as quickly as possible, preparing to use secret methods to fight back. The devil's flames are raging. A more violent black flame emerges than before. A sea of a euro thunder. A sea of a euro fire. 2 extreme natural powers seemed to completely destroy this world. Lin Sheng glanced at Hongzi who was wrapped in black flames, and suddenly an extremely crazy idea emerged in his mind. The Thunder Prison will be very powerful if used with the Thunder attribute ability, so if we add some fire attribute abilities, can it become a hell of thunder and fire? The power displayed by dual attribute abilities is definitely not as simple as 1 + 1 = 2. However, no one has succeeded in implementing this theory yet, so this time he can only be the first person to try it out. Although the strength of the Thunder Prison alone can suppress Hongza, if you want to defeat him completely, you must add more fuel. No madness, no life. After reaching the stellar level, one becomes extremely sensitive to subtle changes in superpowers. Even if one is only temporarily promoted to the star level by special means, one can temporarily gain this perception ability. When Hongza felt that Lin Sheng's supernatural power fluctuations were undergoing drastic changes, his sense of danger told him that he had to retreat. Moreover, retreat immediately. It felt as if he was a second late, he might be seriously injured or even killed. The moment Hong Ziyi retreated violently, the sea of a thunder summoned by Lin Sheng also underwent earth-shaking changes. When the nearly extreme fire power and thunder power were completely integrated, the secret method that was performed could no longer be described as terrifying. At this moment, Lin Sheng stood in the sea of a supernatural power composed of lightning and fire, like a god descending from heaven. Ding! Congratulations to the host for gaining a trace of domain power by comprehending supernatural powers. Ding! Congratulations to the host for obtaining the first level domain Thunder Flame domain. 2 consecutive system prompt sounds appeared out of nowhere, and Lin Sheng felt as if he had mastered something. That kind of mysterious feeling was quite similar to the feeling he had when he broke through to the star level. But there are some differences here, and huge changes are also taking place in places he hasn't noticed yet. A pair of 2-colored wings appeared faintly behind Lin Sheng, and the aura of destructive power directly locked Hong Ziyi firmly. Return! Lin Sheng yelled unconsciously. Hong Ziyi, who was retreating rapidly, only felt that he was being forcibly pulled by an irresistible force, and the next second he was pierced by a strong electric current. When he came to his senses again, he was already less than 100 meters in front of Lin Sheng. And this place is exactly the center of the secret method. It's over. There seemed to be thunder in Lin Sheng's voice, exploding between heaven and earth like thunder. He just raised his right hand slightly and clenched it hard, and the vast amount of supernatural power around him suddenly shrank into a point, tightly surrounding Hong Zi. At this moment, the entire demon world seemed to have welcomed a day that had never been seen in 1,000 years. The sudden burst of dazzling light forced every pair of eyes that witnessed the battle to close. Even in the distant human territory, one could see a flash of white light in the southern sky. Then, the rumbling thunder resounded through the heaven and earth. After this astonishing might dissipated, the monsters in the monster world also discovered something that shocked them. Hong Zi, who had been so majestic and powerful just now, had become so weak that he was about to disappear. Even Hong Ziyi, the demon emperor, couldn't escape unscathed from that earth-shattering blow just now. Chapter 28. Hong Zi's defeat plunged the entire demon race into panic. Just imagine this. A strong man from another race came to their own territory and defeated the strongest man of their own race with thunderous means in front of everyone. I believe that no race can remain calm. The demon emperor was defeated. No. Impossible, it must be an illusion. How could such a powerful demon emperor lose to a weak human? No matter how much they question it, the ironclad fact is already before their eyes. This human being whom they despised, now possessed the terrifying fighting power to defeat the demon race. At this time, Hong Zi was falling slowly from the air and was about to hit the ground. There were many monsters around who were extremely anxious. In desperation, they ran towards the landing point, trying to catch it. Before they could touch Hong Zi, a supernatural power caught the falling Hong Zi. It's fine. Lin Sheng also landed on the ground in an almost godlike manner and walked towards Hong Ziyi's real body. The trace of domain power that he had just comprehended made a great change in Lin Sheng's aura. That otherworldly aura made people feel as if Lin Sheng was a person from heaven, not from this mundane world. However, as the power of the domain faded, everything returned to normal. The huge consumption of his supernatural powers made Lin Sheng feel exhausted, as if a heavy burden was pressing on him. Although the surrounding monsters were all very huge, they all tacitly made way for them. They could sense that there was no killing intent emanating from Lin Sheng, otherwise he would not have caught Hong Ziyi just now. But when Lin Sheng walked to the side of Hong Ziyi's real body, the next move he made all the monsters in the monster clan furious, and they even tried to attack Lin Sheng with their own strength. Despicable human! You dare to look down on my demon race like this? You will pay a heavy price. The power of the demon emperor cannot be violated. Today, even if my entire demon clan is wiped out, I swear to perish with you. Su Xingzhou looked at Lin Sheng expressionlessly as he performed that shocking move. He was now numb with shock. Since entering the demon world, every step Lin Sheng has taken has been beyond his expectations. Although he appears calm on the surface, he is actually completely shocked inside. If the previous one was very shocking, then now it is a shock of spiral ascension level. At this moment, Lin Sheng was standing in front of Hong Ziyi, holding a scroll made of supernatural power floating in the air, exuding an extremely mysterious aura. This is a supernatural contract. He actually wants to make a contract with the demon emperor. Humans can use their supernatural powers as a bridge to establish contracts with monsters. This contract is divided into 2 categories, master-servant contract and equal contract. But in most cases, humans and monsters sign a master-servant contract. For example, the Tianxing Alliance has a flying corps, and all the superpower members in it are equipped with a flying monster. As long as your fist is big enough, you can indeed contract a monster. But the current situation is not right. They were in the heart of the demon world, and there were at least tens of thousands of demon beasts around them. The monsters that can be active in the heart of the monster world are at least monster generals, and they are not comparable to those messy monsters. If there was any commotion, they would be crushed into a pool of pulp. What's more, the object of Lin Sheng's contract is not an ordinary monster, but the monster king of the monster race. The monsters themselves are very averse to contracts. Whether it is a master-servant contract or an equal contract, it is an insult to the monsters. Now he is openly signing a contract with someone else's biggest boss in front of them. What's the difference between this and putting a dog chain on the emperor in front of a group of loyal ministers? Hong Zi, who was still alive, was also furious. His aura of depression was slowly rising, and it seemed that he still wanted to fight. It could accept defeat, but the dignity of an emperor-level monster made it impossible for it to accept the fate of being enslaved by a human. At worst, I can just blow myself up and end it all. At least before I die, I can drag this damn guy down with me. Lin Sheng frowned, and a cyclone of energy spread out from his body to the surroundings, directly sweeping away the surrounding monsters. Hongzi, who had just accumulated some supernatural power, was also forcibly interrupted, and dark green blood continued to flow out of his mouth and nose. Although the aura released by Lin Sheng, who had just experienced a great battle, was not as unrivaled as at his peak, it was enough to shock many demon kings and demon emperors, as well as the demon emperor Hongzi who was weaker than him. Don't react so strongly. You can read the contents of the contract before making a decision. The contract I signed with your demon emperor has no other restrictions. It is just to ensure that the demons will not betray me behind my back. Lin Sheng activated his few supernatural powers and the specific contents of the contract appeared in the sky. The contracted person must not endanger or harm the contractor in any way, even if he or she instructs other living beings. The contractor will be at the top of the demon race, and will have all the power to rule over the demon race. With just 2 sentences, all the ways the demons could target Lin Sheng were completely cut off. Seeing that the monsters began to hesitate, Lin Sheng directly added fuel to the fire. If you don't want to, that's fine. I can just unilaterally declare the contract concluded. Anyway, with your current strength, you can't defeat me. If anyone refuses to acknowledge the contract, just kill them. Don't you monsters believe in the idea that the strong are respected? Then I will help you to implement it. The main body of Hongzi hovers on the ground, like a winding group of peaks. It seemed that it did not want its miserable side to be seen by other monsters, so it transformed into a human form again. Hongzi's clothes were torn when he returned to human form, and the injuries suffered by his original body were also projected onto his human form. After wiping the blood from the corner of his mouth, Hongzi said in an extremely weak voice, I can sign this contract with you. Master Demon Emperor. No. Master Demon Emperor, please think twice. This contract must not be signed. The eyes of the 5 demon emperors and countless demon kings were red. If the emperor of a tribe was forced to sign a contract, then where would the dignity of the demon beast tribe be? There's no need to dissuade me. This is inevitable. Let's not make any more unnecessary sacrifices. Hongzi coughed violently several times, obviously he was seriously injured. Even it cannot suppress Lin Sheng. If other demon emperors and demon kings insist on fighting, the only difference is the length of time they survive, and the outcome will hardly change. Human, before signing the contract, I have a prerequisite. The monster tribe will respect you as the highest level leader, but you cannot kill the monster tribe members at will, and you cannot order them to commit suicide. Lin Sheng could naturally guess what Hongzi was worried about. In the hearts of the monster clan, he is still a human being after all, and a human war god who has guarded the border between the monster world and the human race for 10 whole years, killing countless monsters during this period. It is normal to be wary of the former mortal enemy who has transformed into the supreme leader of the race. Chapter 29. Make a deal. After Lin Sheng agreed, Hongzi also took practical action. This is the great seal of the demon clan. Whoever holds this can inherit the position of the demon emperor. A blood-colored jade seal flew out from between Hongzi's eyebrows and floated steadily in front of Lin Sheng. However, Lin Sheng pushed the jade seal, which symbolized his status, back to Hongzi, and slowly said to him in the face of his puzzled gaze, just keep this thing. You can continue to serve as the demon emperor and manage the affairs of the demon clan. After all, you are more familiar with the affairs of the demon race. I will not interfere too much in the normal operation. I will only give the final result for some decisions, and you cannot violate it at that time. As for my position in the demon race. Lin Sheng pondered for a moment, and then said, in human history, the emperor is the highest ruler, and above the emperor there is a special existence, the emperor. When Su Xingzhou heard this, his eyes went dark. Why didn't he realize that brother Sheng had such a sinister side before? The emperor? Isn't that the emperor's father? The thoughts of monsters are mostly simple. Although their IQ is not low, they know nothing about the human world, not to mention the long history of Dragon Kingdom. If the demon emperor was really fooled, then wouldn't brother Sheng's status in the demon clan be equivalent to that of the demon emperor's biological father? Moreover, if he were allowed to continue to serve as the demon emperor, wouldn't that be free labor? He not only enjoyed supreme power, but also became a comfortable hands-off boss. The most important thing was that this kind of decentralization was definitely a plus in the eyes of the simple-minded monsters. This wave of 3 birds with 1 stone rose directly into the atmosphere. Hongzi's eyes became even more confused. He repeated the word Grand Emperor and said, you mean, you want to be the Grand Demon Emperor? The Supreme Demon Emperor doesn't sound good, let's just call him the Supreme Demon Emperor. Lin Sheng was very satisfied with the name he had given himself. Supreme Demon Emperor means the greatest demon emperor of the demon race. Anyway, there is no rule that the demon race can only have 1 demon emperor. Good. Hongzi, who didn't understand what was going on, agreed immediately, then you are the Supreme Demon Emperor of the demon clan. After I rest for a while, I will challenge you to a position swap. You're welcome anytime. Hongzi lost very magnanimously, without any intention of denying it. After fusing a drop of his own blood with the contract condensed by Lin Sheng, the two were connected together by some mysterious power. The power of a contract is terrifying. Unless both parties voluntarily terminate the contract and pay a certain price, Any party that violates the contract will be constrained by the power of the contract. There have been cases where someone unilaterally broke a contract and was killed directly by the power of the contract. Lin Sheng did not choose the master-servant contract, mainly because he felt that he should give the Demon Emperor some face. After all, if a monster of this level were forced into a corner and self-destructed, the power would be much more terrifying than a nuclear bomb. In addition, this battle consumed a lot of his supernatural powers, so there was no need to take this unnecessary risk. Even if he destroyed the demon race after his supernatural powers were restored, it would be of no benefit to him. Instead, it's a bargain for those bastards of the Tianxing Alliance. No matter from which angle you consider it, seeking a position as the Supreme Demon Emperor for yourself is definitely the best fortune. The conclusion of the contract meant that Hongzi, the Demon King, recognized Lin Sheng's identity as the Supreme Demon King. Hongzi directly used the demon race's unique communication ability to spread the news that Lin Sheng had become the demon race's Supreme Demon Emperor. The monsters that received this news were very confused, but since this was the decision made by the Monster Emperor, they had no choice but to obey. After all, in the Monster Clan, the party with absolute strength has absolute say. The weak are not qualified to refuse any request from the strong. Demon Emperor Hongzi, meet the Supreme Demon Emperor. Meet the Supreme Demon Emperor. Except for Hongzi, all the monsters, including the 5 Monster Kings, knelt on the ground. These monsters are of different sizes, and some of them are no smaller than Hongzi's original body. The power generated by the kneeling action alone feels like an overwhelming force. Such a grand scene would surely scare any other human beings with special abilities present to the point of trembling with fear. The extremely penetrating sound waves spread far away, and the shouts echoed in the demon world, like waves one after another. If Su Xingzhou, who was unable to mobilize his supernatural powers, had not been deliberately protected by Lin Sheng, he would have been shocked to death by the sound waves. At this moment, Su Xingzhou felt as if his 3 views were completely shattered. A monster of this magnitude would pay homage to a human being and regard him as the highest level ruler? If he hadn't seen it with his own eyes, he probably wouldn't believe such a possibility even if he was beaten to death. Brother Sheng is worthy of being Brother Sheng, he just doesn't follow the ordinary path. Master Demon Emperor, should we stop our invasion of human territory? Hongzi did not answer the question directly, but turned his gaze to Lin Sheng, obviously waiting for his decision. That's not necessary. Just continue to follow your previous plan. I will not interfere with your decision to attack human territory, nor will I change your plan at will. But I have another request. You can kill or eat all the superpowers in the Tianxing Alliance. Don't touch the innocent civilians and some scattered people outside the 4 major cities who are groups of superpowers unless it is absolutely necessary. On the way here, Lin Sheng had seen what these monsters did, which was almost an indiscriminate massacre. Not everyone deserves to die. All the rich and powerful people live in the 4 major cities. Most of the people who deliberately spread rumors and smear him on the internet are black-hearted bloggers who make money by taking advantage of other people's misfortunes. They don't care whether things are right or wrong. As long as they can follow the trend and gain traffic, they will follow suit at all costs. As for the consequences of the public opinion they create, they don't consider it at all, let alone take responsibility for it. Some civilians who have no money, no power, and no awakened superpowers can only barely survive in some border towns. In this age where monsters are rampant, it is already very difficult for them to survive without money or power. They simply do not have the time to pay attention to the turmoil and public opinion on the internet, let alone become one of the abusers. If I lose my life again because of the invasion of monsters, my life will be too miserable. Those who backstabbed him were never these innocent people, but the powerful families in the 4 major cities and the Skywalker Alliance. These restrictions did not make the Monster Clan feel disgusted with Lin Sheng, the new Supreme Monster Emperor. On the contrary, I feel that Lin Sheng as a human being is different from other humans in his deceitfulness and cunningness. He only targeted the 4 major cities and the Tianxing Alliance, which shows that he has an open-minded character and believes that every wrong has its perpetrator and every debt has its creditor. In addition, ordinary people without supernatural powers are like chewing wax to monsters. The reason why they previously massacred innocent civilians was simply to satisfy their bloodthirsty desires. In the eyes of monsters, only people with special abilities are rare delicacies in the world. Lin Sheng restricted them from killing innocent civilians, but he did not forbid them from attacking human territory, nor did he forbid them from devouring people with special abilities. In essence, there was actually no major change. Chapter 30. Tianxing Alliance Headquarters. Command Post. A hole. An old man dressed in luxurious and dignified clothes threw the crystal core in his hand to the ground. With a crisp sound, the crystal core shattered into slag, and the image projected on the screen disappeared. The image projected on the screen just now was the scene of Lin Sheng executing Chen Li by Lingqi. A lone man with no background dared to kill the mayor of one of the 4 major cities, and also destroyed the Jingshui prison, causing a large number of prisoners to escape. Lin Sheng, sometimes being too arrogant can backfire. Feng Yuanlong and the other 2 were kneeling on one knee at this moment, with their heads down, not daring to look at the furious old man. Alliance leader, calm down. There's no point getting angry at a guy who was eliminated by the alliance. Next to the old man stood a thin, tall man wearing glasses. He pushed his glasses up and said, he can be so arrogant because he has the confidence to do so. Although the strength of these 3 people's abilities has been raised to the S level, their combat effectiveness has not yet caught up. With more training during this period, they will gradually improve. Besides, after swallowing so many pills, it takes time to digest the remaining medicinal power. These things cannot be rushed and can only be carried out step by step. We have all been waiting for so many years, do we still mind waiting a little longer? After hearing the glasses man's consolation, the old man's expression eased a little. The situation on the border is not optimistic. You take the 3 of them and a few teams over there immediately and make sure to calm the beast tide. Yes, sir. The man with glasses responded and then winked at the 3 people who were kneeling on one knee. The 3 of them immediately understood what he meant and followed the man with glasses out of the room. Mr. Zhang, thank you so much for what you did just now. You're welcome. The leader has been unable to sleep or eat well recently because of the beast invasion. His mood has become unstable, so his words are naturally a bit harsh, so you don't have any resentment. No, how could that be possible? The Alliance has given us such a precious opportunity, how dare we harbor any resentment towards the Alliance? Zhang Qi nodded and continued, 300,000 people have been affected by the monsters on the border, and the death toll is probably half of that number. All the superpower teams sent over before have lost contact. They are most likely in danger. The worst thing is that many civilians in border towns have suffered heavy casualties, and civilian supernatural organizations are unable to provide corresponding protection. Now that the southern border has been completely lost, there is a lot of pressure from public opinion on the internet. If you want to become the new god of war, you must find a way to solve the problem of the monster invasion and try to change the direction of public opinion. When the time comes, I will mobilize the Alliance's flying army to go with you. Please rest assured, Mr. Zhang. We cannot compete with Lin Sheng, but it should be easy to solve the problem of the monster invasion. What's more, with the reinforcement of the flying army, the problem can be solved in no time. Feng Yuanlong was very confident, and the other 2 also said they could solve the problem. They are different from those flowers in the greenhouse. The 3 of them are experienced in battle and have fought with monsters for many years. Although his achievements and strength are far inferior to Lin Sheng's, he has also made considerable contributions. Seeing that the 3 of them had promised him, Zhang Qi's expression eased a little. But when I thought about the situation that was growing bigger and bigger like a snowball, I let out a sigh of relief that I had finally let out. According to preliminary estimates, the number of casualties this time has reached nearly 100,000. This is the largest number of casualties in recent years, more than the previous 4 or 5 years combined. In fact, the Alliance should bear a great responsibility for the situation that has developed to this point. There are huge loopholes in their decision-making. The Alliance knew that the A-level psychics of the Chen family went to the border to gild themselves. After all, the various aristocratic families in the 4 major cities provide a lot of benefits to the top leaders of the Alliance every month. Driven by these interests, some things that seem unreasonable but can be implemented are common, and gilding the border is just one of them that has been exposed. After learning that all these people had died, the Alliance simply thought it was a small wave of monster invasion. As for why all these people died, it was entirely due to the fact that these children, who had just reached adulthood, had let down their guard and had no experience in defending the border or the necessary patrolling habits, which led to the major accident. After the incident, the first team sent to take over the border was also composed of A-level psychics, and the number of people was more than doubled, with 16 people going at once. However, this team of 16 A-level psychics lost all contact within an hour of arriving at the border, and the only sound sent back by the last person was screaming and the roar of monsters. Only at this point did the Alliance realize that something was wrong. The second and third teams were dispatched in succession in an attempt to resolve the issue with the least amount of noise, so as to avoid mobilizing troops to the border which would cause panic among the people and affect the credibility of the Alliance. But they had delayed for too long. A large number of monsters had already torn a huge hole in the southern border. These dozens of A-level psychics were simply unable to stop the violent monsters. From not caring at all at the beginning to trying to make up for the loss later, the delay in the middle has caused a large number of civilians to be killed by monsters. You 3, once the flying troops have assembled, set off immediately. The longer this kind of thing is delayed, the more serious the situation will become. Zhang Qi issued an ultimatum and at the same time contacted the flying troops using communication equipment. Although this flying army is not composed entirely of A-level psychics, they have a very high degree of tacit understanding in their cooperation. In addition, with the presence of flying monsters, even the Monster King may not be able to escape unscathed. In addition, there are 3 newly promoted S-level psychics stationed on the scene, so this time the monster invasion is definitely guaranteed. As the League searches for a remedy, the internet is abuzz. There haven't been casualties of this magnitude on the border for almost 10 years. What on earth are these border guards doing? My friend's brother's younger brother's sister-in-law's second aunt said that almost everyone in their town died. Fortunately, a team of superpowers arrived in time to save them. Hey? Is he a superpower from the Tianxing Alliance? Bah! The superpowers of the Tianxing Alliance are still living happily in who knows where. The ones who went to rescue people are just a newly established organization of scattered people. The Tianxing Alliance, which has been treated with great respect by the offerings, turned a blind eye and even had to rely on individual organizations to quell the monster attacks. How ironic! Chapter 31. The 6 young A-level psychics of the Chen family are simply fakes. They are just monsters who can take advantage of the traffic bonus to establish their personalities. Alas, the situation was obviously very good, and border tour groups were all open, but I didn't expect something like this to happen. Those tour group companies that specialize in border routes are probably going to go bankrupt. It's more than just a matter of time. If they only offended ordinary people, we could use alliance coins to calm down. But the key is that there are many wealthy and powerful families who were harmed during the tour. This is not something that can be easily resolved. Even if they don't pursue the matter, we will have to spend a lot of money to appease their anger. I said at the beginning that Lin Sheng cannot be removed. He is a genuine S-rank and has guarded the border for so many years. Regardless of other things, at least when he was here, there was no monster invasion at the border. FK, are you putting this on hold now? I remember that you were on the list of users who insulted the most in the post. How can you whitewash yourself? Nonsense, that was a fair and just statement, you can't infringe on my right to freedom of speech. Please get out of here, the internet is not a lawless place. I will have the law enforcement officer throw you into the pure water prison. The damn Jingshui prison was bombed into such a mess. If you ask me, the alliance is really cowardly. They didn't dare to hold anyone responsible even after the pure water prison was destroyed. It turns out that strength is everything. Haha, hasn't the world always been like this? You didn't just find out about this, did you? Here it comes again, Brother Dong is really everywhere. There are all kinds of voices on the internet, whether it is accusing the League of inaction or saying that the League is a wimp. In short, the focus of public opinion has shifted from Lin Sheng to the alliance. Unfortunately, the alliance is unable to make any useful rebuttal to these matters, and using tough measures to arrest and suppress these troublemakers will only make matters worse. After all, in this age of rampant monsters, those who have the leisure time to chat online are all well-known figures. At the very least, he is a descendant of a big family. Longguo itself is a large society based on personal relationships. If any point is not handled properly, it will cause a series of problems. Therefore, the alliance can only act like a turtle for a while. I can't hit him, I can't scold him, what else can I do except to be dumb and swallow the bitter pill? What no one expected was that they would be the worst hit and would have to serve as the judge of the Tianxing alliance. In particular, Li Bei's, a law enforcement officer, was ambushed by a supernatural being who fled here on his way home from get off work. Without any preparation, Li Bei's, a B-level psychic, was knocked unconscious by a club. When he woke up, he found that one of his legs was broken and he was tied up in an abandoned building. If Li Bei's didn't have the alliance's special distress device on him, he would have died there. Even if the other party is caught, the injuries are too severe to recover in a short time. This resulted in Li Bei's now limping when he went to work in the courtroom, which looked very funny. After being tortured severely, the murderer with superpowers also explained the reason. It turned out that this person with special abilities originally lived in a small town not far from the southern border. He has a wife and children, his parents are in harmony, and his family is happy. But just after Lin Sheng was forced away by the alliance, monsters invaded in large numbers. In just one day, all the people in the town, except for a few people with special abilities including him, were killed by the monster. The happy family was instantly destroyed, and the huge gap was unacceptable to this psychic. In despair, he put all the blame on Li Bei's. From his perspective, if Li Beizi hadn't forced Lin Sheng away, their town wouldn't have been attacked by monsters. His family, his friends, everything he knew would not be destroyed in an instant. On the afternoon of the same day, Feng Yuanlong, Feng Yuanhu, Qi Li, and the flying army headed for the border. In order to maintain the dignity of the Tianxing alliance and to boost the morale of all the relevant personnel of the Tianxing alliance, the Tianxing alliance's court of justice and the alliance's top leaders jointly decided to publicly execute the superpower who attacked Li Bei's. Such resolutions caused an uproar on the internet. However, the relevant documents have gone through layers of approval and have been made public through various channels. When the execution took place, the square was filled with people. A dark-skinned man was tied to a wooden stake, exposed to the scorching sun. As the victim and the law enforcement officer of the court, Li Bei's naturally had to come to the scene. Seeing the culprit who had seriously injured him, Li Bei's felt secretly happy, but also a trace of fear that had not yet faded away. Few people can remain calm in the face of the threat of death. It is obvious that Li Bei's is also a guy who is afraid of death. When he saw the sharp knife so close to his heart, he was so scared that he wet his pants. However, in order to maintain the dignity of law enforcement officers, the rescuers did not report the incident. Otherwise, now Li Bei's has become a clown who is laughed at by others. Chu Hongfu, you attacked the judge of the tribunal with cruel and vicious means. I now charge you with murder. Given that the case is clear and your crime was witnessed by the law enforcement team, you are now sentenced to have your supernatural powers abolished and your arms cut off. An old man who looked 70% similar to Li Bei's was looking at the figure tied to the wooden stake with an angry face. When Chu Hongfu raised his head, the blood flowing from his head spread to his eyes, making the world in his eyes turn blood red. Chu Hongfu spat out a mouthful of blood with disdain, and said sarcastically, "You can kill me or chop me up as you please. From the moment I started, I never thought I could leave alive. Killing monsters is not enough, but dealing with our own people is still worth showing off. The alliance is rotten to the core." Chu Hongfu's expression became more and more ferocious, and suddenly blood gushed out from the corners of his mouth. The supernatural power that was restricted by the forbidden magic stone was temporarily released. The sound of supernatural power instantly spread throughout the square. Everyone. I am an ordinary psychic, a father, a husband, and a child. But now, my happy family no longer exists. The reason for all this is that a group of scum who only wanted to get promoted drove away a god of war who really wanted to do practical things. Let me ask you, when Lin Sheng was guarding the southern border, when did the nearby villages suffer large-scale casualties? Where were there any signs of active monsters? Neglecting one's duties? Colluding with the demon tribe? This is sheer nonsense and slander. Lin Sheng gave up his freedom for the sake of his country, his people, and all the people in the alliance. He also turned himself into a killing machine that only knew how to kill monsters. But a person who has made so many sacrifices is forced to leave. Isn't this a shame for the alliance? The most hateful thing is that they not only drove the god of war away, but also used an extremely perfunctory attitude to rescue us. If the rescue team could be faster, many people could have survived. But the problem is that the superpowers who went to the border to kill the monsters don't care, let alone our lives. In just 3 days, the number of casualties reached nearly 100,000. What a shocking number. If Lin Sheng were here, this situation would definitely not be the case. Chapter 32. What nonsense. Lin Sheng was absent from his post, resulting in the deaths of many innocent civilians. This is an ironclad fact. No matter how you defend him, the result cannot be changed. It's ridiculous, so ridiculous. Chu Hongfu laughed in anger, ignoring the fact that he once again spit out a large mouthful of blood, and said with extremely disordered breathing, "Haven't you ever thought about a question? If it weren't for Lin Sheng, would these be the only people who died? Now that Lin Sheng has been forced away by you, can you, a bunch of good-for-nothings who can't even lift a sword, hold out at the border? The long period of peace has made you forget the cruelty of the monsters, but what have the civilians living on the border done wrong? Why should they become victims of your struggle for rights? Why do you disregard their safety to satisfy your own selfish desires?" Chu Hongfu's harsh questioning not only made Li Bei's pale, but also shocked the hearts of the onlookers. They only now understood one thing: from the beginning to the end, they were used as pawns by the alliance. Yes. Without Lin Sheng, the number of casualties would have been even greater. Isn't this a perfect example? In the towns and villages surrounding the border defense line, nearly 100,000 people were killed or wounded in just a few days. How shocking a number is this? What this person said is right. Regardless of whether Lin Sheng deserted his post or not, and whether he has been convicted of those crimes by the Tianxing alliance, at least when he was here, such a tragedy never happened. Damn it. I, Doraemon, have a great reputation, but I was fooled by someone. FK, relying on PR to fool us, the Tianxing alliance is really great. If you think about it carefully, these bastards really don't do anything humane. Wow, 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 I actually cursed the most meritorious person in guarding the border. I really deserve to die. What should we do now? Without truly powerful people guarding the border, the monsters will sooner or later attack Linyuan City. Will we still be able to survive then? No, I have to pack up my belongings and see if I can find a shelter in the mountains and forests to hide for a while. The onlookers had different opinions, but their attitude towards the Tianxing alliance had changed dramatically compared to when they first arrived. Hatred, resentment, regret, and many other negative emotions mixed together. The crowd who were quietly watching the execution began to become chaotic, and the curses and chaotic footsteps were extremely harsh. Seeing that the atmosphere at the scene was a little strange, Li Bei suddenly panicked. These people were very ruthless in their attacks. He was a wounded soldier, and if a riot broke out, he wouldn't even be able to run away. The old man next to Li Bei's who looked 70% like him was his father Li Cheng. Li Cheng is one of the founders of the tribunal and has made great contributions to the establishment and operation of the tribunal. This is also why Li Bei was able to enter the trial court and become a law enforcement officer at a young age. It cannot be said that it has nothing to do with his efforts, but it can only be said that it has nothing to do with it. Even though Li Cheng was well informed and had dealt with a lot in the world, he felt his scalp tingling after seeing the chaotic scene, because the rioting of the crowd cannot be quelled in a short time. After many seeds are planted, they will grow wildly after many complex environmental factors intervene. When the time is right, these hidden dangers will emerge. Over the years, the Tianxing alliance, which had not been invaded by monsters, began to extend its influence to the economy and issued many unreasonable regulations and rules, which subtly accumulated a lot of resentment. Whether it was the 4 major cities or small towns and villages, all were affected. But everyone felt that the psychics of the Tianxing alliance had paid a lot in the past years to resist the monsters, so it was reasonable for them to pay some price. But now, the invasion of monsters has become a foregone conclusion. The inaction of the Tianxing alliance chilled their hearts and made them feel an unprecedented sense of crisis. The shocking number of casualties has already touched their bottom line. Who was forced to leave and who was replaced has nothing to do with them. Normally, I am the kind of person who enjoys watching the fun, no matter how big the event. I hope things get out of hand and there will be something fun to watch. However, once the monsters invade, it will not only affect their vital interests, but also endanger their lives. The sense of crisis that one might be torn to pieces and eaten by monsters at any time prompts everyone to seek rewards for the price they have paid over the years. These rewards are the Tianxing alliance's actions in resisting the monsters. Seeing that the situation was about to get out of control, Li Cheng greeted the guards next to him with a gloomy face, indicating that they should clear the evacuation passage in advance to ensure that they could evacuate safely. Li Cheng, who has many years of experience in court law enforcement, knows very well that this sudden outburst of resentment is by no means accidental. Now there are only 3 choices before him. 1. Wait for these grievances to subside on their own. 2. Armed and forceful suppression. 3. Use public relations means to appease. But no matter which one, it will not take effect instantly. Right now, the most urgent thing is to leave here as soon as possible and make long-term plans. As for Chu Hongfu who had not yet been executed, Li Cheng was too lazy to care about him. Because he can't survive. There are only 2 ways in the world to forcibly break the shackles of the forbidden magic stone, or the supernatural power is too huge to be restricted by the forbidden magic stone. Or let all the supernatural powers in the body gather together and flow back. The consequence of doing so is that the tendons and veins of the whole body are broken and the organs fail. Not only will you lose all your supernatural powers, you will also become a useless person. Even if you are lucky enough to survive, there is no possibility of becoming a superpower. It would be foolish to miss the best time to evacuate in order to execute a useless person. The guards quickly opened the retreat passage. Everyone realized that Lin Sheng and Li Bei's were trying to flee the scene, so they started to attack them with rotten vegetable leaves and rotten eggs that they had taken out from somewhere. Li Bei's didn't have time to dodge and was hit directly on the nose by the rotten egg. The broken rotten eggs were all over his face, and the stench almost made him vomit. In addition, the bridge of my nose was injured, and my nose felt sore and I couldn't help but shed tears. For a moment, I couldn't tell whether he was crying or vomiting. He looked extremely embarrassed. Seeing his son being so cowardly, Lin Sheng's already depressed mood became even more irritated. He instantly became so angry that he raised his leg and kicked Li Bei's in the back. Waste. I have worked hard to cultivate you for so many years, but in the end you can't even win the support of the people. If you had won more support from the people, you wouldn't be in such a mess today. Li Beizi, who was kicked to the ground, did not dare to refute at all. He had tried many people in recent years, but when it came to public opinion. After Lin Sheng kicked him, he walked away without looking back. Li Bei's could only get up from the ground dejectedly and catch up with Lin Sheng who was striding forward. After Li Bei's and his son left, the situation further escalated. Chu Hongfu, who was already seriously injured and had his superpowers reversed, died on the spot, sparking public anger to the extreme. What's wrong with this psychic? He just wants to avenge his family. The first time I saw Li Bei's, I felt that he was not a good person. Now it seems that my vision is still vicious. He is a scumbag. That day in the court, he righteously pronounced Lin Sheng's guilt. I think he should be sent to the border to resist monsters and make amends for his sins. Countless insults flooded in, and the first to bear the brunt were naturally Li Beizi and the tribunal. Even the Tianxing alliance was added to the crusade. Some enthusiastic netizens even found Li Bei's social account through technical means. The unsuspecting Li Bei's was scolded so harshly that he had to delete his social media accounts to escape disaster. But Li Bei's real nightmare is more than that. Chapter 33. That night, his cell phone was almost destroyed by the bombing. He received one phone call after another, as if someone was deliberately launching a war of attrition against him to make him restless. Most of the callers were reporters from newspapers. They wanted to get some exclusive inside information about the riots in the square today. But Li Bei's is not a fool. In the past, he might have cooperated with newspaper reporters to further increase his popularity on the internet. But what time is it now? If he continues to stir up trouble and mess up the situation that is already out of control, the Tianxing alliance will directly deal with him from within without the noble families and civilians having to take action. After much effort, all newspapers and new media companies were finally blacklisted. Li Bei's was about to breathe a sigh of relief when suddenly some extreme people even threw the remains of monsters directly at Li Bei's house. The originally luxurious residence was turned into a bloody mess like a slaughterhouse. When Li Bei's was about to collapse, a special number called. After seeing the number clearly, Li Bei's face changed, but he still answered the call. Master Li, you must save me. The monster has arrived in the town next to us. You promised us wealth and glory as long as we are willing to cooperate with the alliance to correct Lin Sheng in the court of justice. But now I don't want wealth and glory anymore, I want to survive, I want to live. Linyuan City is one of the 4 major cities and the headquarters of the Tianxing alliance. It must be safe. I want to take my family to Linyuan City for refuge. Li Bei's eyelids twitched, but the other party's identity was too sensitive. Those who were used to designate Lin Sheng were actually from the same village as this guy, or from surrounding villages and towns. All in all, there is an inextricable relationship. If it is not handled properly, it will definitely be a bombshell. Although the reputation of the Tianxing alliance has begun to decline sharply, it does not mean that the Tianxing alliance will collapse. If they hold on a little longer, they will eventually get through it. But if the scandal of framing the god of war is exposed, at this critical juncture, the alliance will definitely use him as a target to calm the public anger and resentment. After all, what the alliance lacks most right now is a step, and he must not deliver it to them. After making up his mind, Li Bei's could only test the waters, so he said to the other party in an extremely casual tone, "It's no use for you to look for me. The conditions I promised you have been met. Now that it's been so long since the matter was concluded, you're telling me to change the terms? There aren't so many good things in the world. Besides, the alliance will give you so much money after the mission is completed. If you hire more mercenaries, I don't believe you can't come to Linyuan City. Although the number of residents in Linyuan City is full, there are very few things in this world that cannot be solved with money. As long as you are willing to spend a lot of money, all problems will be solved. Master Li. It's not that I don't want to, but I can't. My mother was seriously injured by a monster and can't travel long distances. In addition, the number of monsters wandering around the village is increasing, and most of the supernatural people stationed here have left. I won't bother you unless it's absolutely necessary, please, Lord Li. Snap. Boom. Before Li Bei's could continue to say anything, he heard a sound of wood breaking from the other end of the phone, followed by a shrill scream. Hello? Hello? Are you still there? Li Bei's asked several times but no one responded. The panicked expression on his face slowly turned into a creepy smile. It seems that this person was attacked by a monster. At this time, it was night. The border's defenses are relatively weak, and this is also the time when monsters are most active. Considering this guy's strength, there is only one result if he is seriously injured by a monster, that means being eaten alive. If the monster eats this guy, then all the civilians around him will die. After all, according to what he just said, almost all the superpowers around the border can run away. Most of those who were unwilling to run and stayed behind were killed by monsters. Thinking of this, Li Bei's felt his heart beating wildly, as if he had opened the door to a new world. What happened today gave him a completely new way of thinking about solving problems. If the people who created the problem were solved, would he still need to solve the problem? The answer is obvious, of course not. The unique low roar from the monster instantly cleared Li Bei's confused mind. But what shocked him the most was that he seemed to hear human voices talking in the gaps between the monster's roars. Didn't you hear the message from before? Or did you know there was a rule and still broke it? This is an order from your Demon Emperor and Supreme Demon Emperor. What else do you want to do? Instead of refutation or resistance, the scolded monster made a whimpering sound in its throat, as if begging for mercy from the owner of the voice. Will monsters beg for mercy from humans? The key point is that there was no fierce fight just now. In the world of monsters, strength is respected. Moreover, the relationship between monsters and humans is almost incompatible, so how could they beg for mercy from a human without fighting? And why does this voice sound familiar? Etc. Li Bei's mind was working rapidly, and he felt that at this moment his brain's computing power seemed to surpass Einstein's. This voice is Su Xingzhou? Su Xingzhou is a human being, how could he be with a monster? How dare you, Su Xingzhou? How dare you collude with the monster? When Su Xingzhou heard someone calling his name, he was stunned at first, and then focused his eyes on the phone on the ground which was still in call mode. When he saw the note on the phone number clearly, a disdainful smile suddenly appeared on his face. The judge is Adult Li. This basically names Li Bei's. After all, the only people holding positions in the entire Tianxing Alliance's trial court are Li Cheng and his son Li Baizi. Su Xingzhou bent down and picked up the blood-stained phone on the ground, put the phone to his ear and whispered, "Is it that BD Li Baizi?" "That's what I said. I felt something was wrong when I testified in court. I didn't expect it was you who did this." Hearing that he was recognized directly, Li Bei's eyes flashed with a trace of panic, but he quickly forced himself to calm down. "Don't confuse people here. You are colluding with the monsters now. If I report you to the Alliance, you will be sentenced to death." "Report? Death penalty? What a ridiculous word. From the moment you put me in Jingshui prison, wasn't that the death sentence? It's a pity that you all planned everything, but you didn't expect Brother Sheng to be willing to make the Alliance his enemy in order to rescue me." Su Xingzhou became more and more angry as he spoke, his eyes were ferocious, and he almost spit fire. "Didn't you say that Brother Sheng was colluding with the Demon Clan? Then I will let you see what it looks like to collude with the Demon Clan." Li Bei's was so angry that he couldn't speak for a moment, but Su Xingzhou on the other end of the phone looked gradually crazy. "Since it has been confirmed that these accusers are not innocent, there is no need for me to be lenient towards them. Brother Sheng fought so hard against the monsters at the border, but they stabbed him in the back. No matter what the reason was. The ungrateful should go to hell forever. It was a relief for this guy to be torn to pieces by the monster. Otherwise, I would have made sure they experienced the most cruel punishment in the world. Li Bei's, you should live in fear for the time being. Sooner or later, I will personally send you down to meet them." Chapter 34. After Su Xingzhou finished speaking, he threw his phone to the ground, and then a powerful energy condensed into an ice cone. The moment the ice cone appeared, the surrounding air seemed to be condensed and the temperature dropped suddenly. With the fragile strength of the mobile phone, it is impossible for it to withstand Su Xingzhou's angry attack. Looking at the mobile phone that had been broken into a pile of electronic components on the ground, Su Xingzhou still felt unsatisfied. This anger can only be relieved when the Tianxing Alliance completely collapses and the villain Li Bei's dies completely. Li Baizi deserves death for making Brother Sheng suffer an unjust accusation. Feeling the supernatural power surging in his body due to anger, Su Xingzhou felt extremely complicated. "I thought that after entering Jingshui prison, the remaining days of my life would be spent in pain and torture." Lin Sheng once again became a bright beam of light in his dark life. He not only rescued him from the dark dungeon, but also reconnected his broken tendons. Ever since that day when Lin Sheng became the Supreme Demon Emperor of the Demon World, the Demon Beast Clan kept their promise and placed Su Xingzhou in the Demon Clan's unique sacred spring for recovery treatment. This was also the first time that Lin Sheng and Su Xingzhou knew where the monster's powerful recovery ability came from. To explain in gaming terms, it can be said that the monster clan has a very high racial value. But height is only part of the reason. Monsters will obtain territory from the monster clan to recuperate based on their own strength. The stronger the strength, the stronger the status. The privilege you get in the demon world is that the closer your territory is to the sacred spring. The main reason for this distribution is that the restorative power of the sacred spring will be diluted with distance. The closer the distance, the stronger the recovery ability. Restoring tendons and veins is just child's play for Shen Chuan. With Lin Sheng's status in the demon clan, he naturally replaced Heng Ze and owned the territory at the spring. After soaking in the holy spring for only a few minutes, Su Xingzhu's body recovered as before. Not only did the previous injuries completely dispel, but even the supernatural powers were slightly improved. However, it was still far from reaching S-level strength. Lin Sheng originally wanted to carry some of this magical spring water with him. After all, such terrifying recovery ability is unimaginable in the human world. The effects of all the elixirs known in the world today are far inferior to soaking in spring water for a while. Such a gap is terrifying. But for some reason, once the spring water is put into any container, it will instantly lose its vitality and become the most ordinary spring water. After several experiments, Lin Sheng gave up the idea of a taking the holy spring water away. He originally thought that the monster was simply inconvenient to carry, so he did not carry such terrifying spring water with him. But through his several tests, he also discovered the characteristics of the holy spring water. It only works when connected to a spring. This can explain why the effect is better only when the distance is closer to here. Rather than saying it's the healing power of the sacred spring water, it's more like saying the sacred spring has a miraculous effect. After Su Xingzhou recovered, Lin Sheng was worried that the monster tribe did not strictly follow his orders, so he sent Su Xingzhou to the border to supervise. As for himself, he continued to stay near the sacred spring to study the spring that even he could not break open or explore. Su Xingzhou collected his thoughts and glanced at the general level monster trembling beside him, with a fierce light flashing in his eyes. After calming down a little, he spoke word by word, "Now, capture all the civilians from the nearby villages and bring them here. As for the superpowers, deal with them according to your mood, but don't kill these civilians casually. Hurry up." The intelligence of these monsters is not enough to communicate normally with Su Xingzhou, but they can understand his orders. After the general level monster ran away quickly, Su Xingzhou clenched his fists tightly, and his ice attribute ability directly froze the entire house. Brother Sheng's order only asked me to protect innocent people, but those who participated in framing him, how can they be considered innocent people? I must tear these people into pieces with my own hands. There were a huge number of monsters active near the town, and the order Su Xingzhou had just issued was completed in a short time. The surviving villagers from several nearby villages were gathered in a huge open space. An endless fear enveloped these civilians like a shadow. They didn't understand what was happening, they just knew that these ferocious monsters had gathered them together, and that something bad must be going on. What should we do? What should we do? What on earth are these monsters up to? Why don't they just eat us? I don't know. Maybe he doesn't feel hungry, so he keeps us in captivity for the time being and will eat us when he's hungry. It's better to use it as food than to use it as reserve food. The feeling of waiting to die is too painful. Some civilians with poor psychological endurance almost cut off their own necks on the spot. If they died immediately, they wouldn't have to suffer, but now they have to move around under the watchful eyes of so many huge monsters. This feeling. It was just like visiting a zoo, except that they changed from visitors to captive animals. Look. There seems to be a human standing among the monsters. Stop it, you must be too nervous and your eyes are blurry. How can a human be with a monster? No. He is right. There really is a human standing behind the group of monsters, walking towards us. As someone pointed in a certain direction, everyone looked in the direction of his finger. The group of monsters that had originally surrounded the civilians actually moved to the sides when the figure slowly approached. No matter whether it was a soldier-level monster or a general-level monster, none of them had any thoughts or actions of attacking this human. Yes, there is help. Is this a superpower from the Tianxing Alliance? It is very likely that this person has the ability to manipulate and can control the thoughts of monsters. The crowd, which was originally in a very depressed mood, suddenly became lively when Su Xingzhou approached. Because they saw the hope of survival. Regardless of whether the supernatural person here is a member of the Tianxing Alliance, he is ultimately their kind and can communicate with them. It is better to communicate with humans than with these monsters who only know how to kill and eat. There was a civilian with an impatient personality who stood up and ran towards Su Xingzhou. "Master, please save us." But he had just stood up and ran 2 steps when he was instantly frozen into an ice sculpture by an extremely cold ice attribute. Power. Chapter 35. This sudden change shocked the hearts of the civilians who had just smiled. The smile that was finally forced out turned into panic. Why are the superpowers attacking us? Impossible. This can't be a superpowered person like us humans. It must be the incarnation of a high-level monster. Damn it. I thought he was here to save us, but he was here to kill us. It's over, it's completely over this time. Su Xingzhou ignored the screams and cries of the crowd and stretched out his hand and waved it backwards. The monsters surrounding the civilians retreated a few steps, leaving him enough space. You are partly right. I am indeed here to kill people, but not all of you. Maybe some of you still remember me, maybe some of you have no impression of me at all. But it doesn't matter, as long as I can still remember the ugly faces of some people, that's enough. Su Xingzhou stepped forward and stretched out his hand, and the civilian who was frozen into an ice sculpture shattered into a pile of ice. The crackling sound of the ice sculpture breaking was like the sound of a guillotine falling to the ground, breaking the last psychological defense of the crowd. Seeing Su Xingzhou getting closer and closer, the 200 or 300 civilians at the scene could only huddle together timidly. Ordinary people are extremely vulnerable in front of people with special powers, just like they can only run away when facing monsters. The difference in strength between the two sides is huge, they are not in the same league at all. Even if 200 or 300 of them rushed up at the same time, the psychics could not kill them, but the monsters surrounding them were not vegetarians. Moreover, from what this psychic said just now, he will not kill everyone here. Instead of rushing forward and dying, it is better to see if you can be the one who survives by chance. Everyone has a sense of luck, especially in a situation where death is almost certain. Moreover, a large number of them are completely unaware of the matter. Only the small group of people who recalled certain things had extremely ugly expressions. I am not a person who likes to kill innocent people, and someone has specifically told me to protect civilians. But those guilty people do not belong to the category of civilians I want to protect. Are these people going to come out on their own, or should I catch them? Su Xing's whose originally empty right hand had somehow condensed into an extremely delicate ice sword. The sword blade exudes a sharp glow, and the wisps of cold air are extremely eye-catching under the moonlight. I'll count down to 3. If you stand up, I can leave you with an intact body. If I were to catch him myself, you would end up like that guy just now, dead without a burial place. A civilian who had testified in the court could no longer hold back and jumped out to accuse Su Xingzhou. We just made some principled mistakes and did not stick to the bottom line. Why do you want to kill us all? You don't still think that your testimony in the court was a small problem, do you? Su Xingzhou was angry, and this time he was angry from the bottom of his heart. That one false accusation directly destroyed all the contributions Lin Sheng had made over the years. For a whole 10 years, Lin Sheng hardly had a single day to rest. The final result was that he was accused and framed by the very person he was protecting. If it weren't for Lin Sheng's open-minded attitude, someone else would have gone crazy. Even now, these people still think that the mistake they made was just a trivial one. Let me analyze it for you. If it weren't for your advice, Brother Sheng wouldn't have left the alliance, and I wouldn't have given up defending the border. The result of today's monster invasion is purely the result of the evil you sowed in the past. Those dead superpowers and compatriots were also killed by you in a sense. It is because you helped the evildoers and spread rumors that so many people lost their lives. These words were like a heavy hammer, turning the face of the civilian who had just spoken pale. The other people standing around him also looked at him with disgust in their eyes. So that's how it is. I was wondering why so many monsters invaded when the god of war was defending well. It turns out that he was driven away by these scumbags. Haha, this guy used to be a well-known poor man in our village. No wonder he suddenly became rich recently. It turns out that he received ill-gotten gains. It's really damnable. A gentleman loves money, but he should get it in a proper way. For a little bit of profit, he even throws away his conscience. The god of war has guarded our border for so many years, but in the end he was framed. This is intolerable. Let's all help the master of superpowers to find out these parasites among humans. With the help of these righteous civilians, Su Xingzhou had already found the person without even having to go there himself. Of the 13 people who went to the court to identify themselves, only 7 are still alive. In addition to the one he just killed, there were 5 more people killed by the monster. Su Xingzhou laughed out loud. This cause and effect relationship was really exciting. Because he participated in framing the greatest contributor stationed at the southern border was left unguarded and he himself was killed by a monster. Serves you right. These people deserve to die. I want to see Lin Sheng. We all have our reasons for doing this. As long as we explain to him, he will definitely forgive us. Yes. If he can forgive us, then we don't have to die, right? It is obvious that these 7 people are not giving up, because there is no empathy in the world, only personal experience. They will not understand what it feels like to be falsely accused. You will not experience the feeling of being criticized by thousands of people even though you have done your best for the people of the world. Su Xingzhou shook his head. No, with your current status you are not worthy of meeting Brother Sheng. Why do we need Brother Sheng to personally deal with some bad apples? In this world, Brother Sheng is the only one who is wholeheartedly doing good for me. I will eliminate all those who stand in his way and betray him one by one. Now, I will purge the criminals for Brother Sheng. All those who participated in the false accusation will be killed without mercy. As soon as the words fell, some civilians who closed their eyes quickly only felt an unbearable chill descending from the sky. The whooshing sound and screams resounded through the sky. During this period, warm blood splattered on the faces of some civilians who were closer to the front. The slippery and sticky touch made their hearts skip a beat. Only after the screams completely disappeared did some brave people dare to open their eyes. The scene before them made their legs go weak and they fell to the ground. The 7 people who were kneeling on the ground before were pierced through the body by countless tiny and slender ice spikes. Until death, they still remained in the kneeling position, their eyes wide open, as if they were in great pain. At first glance, these 7 lifeless corpses look like ice hedgehogs. A rough estimate shows that at least hundreds of ice spikes pierced their bodies. They were stabbed to death. Not only was he unable to resist or escape, he could only endure this inhuman pain and the fear of his life slipping away. Chapter 36. Master Superpower. If you kill them, you can't kill us. We are definitely good people who abide by the law, and there is no violation of any law or discipline. Recently, we have all been working hard on hunting and stockpiling food, and we have no time to frame the Lord God of War. Besides, we will never do such a heartless thing. Lord God of War has shed so much blood and suffered so many injuries to protect us, how could we stab him in the back? If we had known that these scumbags would do such an outrageous thing, we would have killed them ourselves to clear the name of Lord God of War. The tone and expressions of these people when they spoke did not sound fake, and Lin Sheng himself had given orders not to hurt innocent people at will. Therefore, Su Xingzhou did not make things difficult for them, nor did he let the surrounding monsters make things difficult for them. I have good news for you. The God of War who protected you before is still protecting you in another way. As long as you are willing, humans and monsters can coexist in this world. I believe everyone has long been tired of this dark life. Escaping is not the solution to the problem. Only by facing the problem head-on can there be a glimmer of hope. Our most proud war god has penetrated deep into the heart of the demon world and reached an agreement with the demons. The specific coexistence plan is still under discussion, but I believe it won't be long before this plan is promoted and implemented. Before that, the only thing left to do is to clean up the termites among humans. Although the Tianxing Alliance had made many achievements in the early years, it has been committing all kinds of evil in recent years. As long as they are still here, the plan for humans and demons to coexist in this world cannot be implemented. If someone had advocated the coexistence of humans and demons before today, everyone present would have treated him as a lunatic. Because every human being has a very bad stereotype about the monster clan. But it's different now. They witnessed with their own eyes Su Xingzhou commanding the monster beasts, and the monster beasts actually obeyed his orders and did not hurt them. If the coexistence of humans and monsters was not a dream, they would not need to live such a hiding life anymore. No one wants to live like a mouse, in fear every day. Who doesn't want to enjoy the blue sky and white clouds, and the freedom to do whatever they want? Since the master of superpowers has said so, we are willing to trust you even at the risk of our lives. No matter what, our lives were saved by the master of superpowers. If we don't trust him, who else can we trust? Those bastards from the Tianxing Alliance have turned the southern border into a mess for their own selfish interests. They can even abandon the god of war who has supported their southern border for so many years. How can we expect them to treat ordinary people like us well? The Tianxing Alliance is destined to become a thing of the past, so we can just be the ones who add fuel to the flames. Among these ordinary people present, there are quite a few younger ones. Their thinking is more active than that of the older generation, and they took the initiative to volunteer to go with Su Xingzhou. It is inevitable to encounter other civilians along the way. If Su Xingzhou has to personally persuade every group of people, the efficiency would be too low. Anyway, the way of survival where humans and monsters coexist is being promoted, so they won't encounter any other dangers near the border. Su Xingzhou strongly agreed with this proposal. After all, what these people said was right, and he didn't have the time to persuade every civilian. Although the task that Brother Sheng gave him was just to monitor the invasion of monsters, as his right-hand man, how could he be limited to just that? If there is no task assigned, then he will find one himself. The primary goal is to destroy all the bases and branches of the Tianxing Alliance, and strive to destroy all organizations related to the Tianxing Alliance in the world. With the addition of this group of young people, whenever they encounter a group of civilians, one of them can take these people back. The gathering point for all the civilians was unanimously chosen by everyone as the place where Lin Sheng once lived. In their opinion, the place where the god of war lived will bring them good luck, and that is also the end of their faith. As a belief in the minds of these people, Lin Sheng, the person involved, was completely unaware of what was happening. Ding! Congratulations to the host for obtaining 107 points of faith. Lin Sheng, who was squatting beside the sacred spring and studying patiently, was also confused when he heard the sudden system prompt sound. Faith value? What the hell is this? He clearly didn't do anything here, so how did he trigger an additional new branch? System, what is the use of faith value? Ding! Reply to the host. Faith points are the bonus points you get for being regarded as a pillar of faith and support in others' hearts. They can be used to improve your own strength. The higher the faith value, the greater the increase in combat power. At the same time, faith value can also be used to exchange for some rare items, props, and equipment. The faith value mall has been opened for the host. A light curtain appeared out of thin air in front of Lin Sheng, and on the light curtain was all the contents of the mall of faith. Behind the dazzling array of goods, there are prices marked. Campanula, low-level basic medicinal material, 5 years old, exchange price 1 point of faith. Moon Shadow Pill, a low-level pill that can greatly increase speed after taking it. The exchange price is 10 points of faith. Thunder Curse Rune, a one-time supernatural scroll. After use, it can summon a sea of A-euro thunder within a 30-meter range to carry out indiscriminate attacks. The exchange price is 50 points of faith. Dragon Roar Sword, A-level weapon, made of meteorite iron and deep-sea cold jade, exchange price 3000 faith points. Phoenix Dance Fan, S-level weapon, the fan frame is made of 1000-year-old phoenix wood, and the fan surface is woven with phoenix feathers. The exchange price is 50,000 faith points. Sky-splitting sword, a star-level weapon, the sword body is like lightning that cuts through the sky. Once the sword is unsheathed, it splits the sky and nothing can stop it. The exchange price is 660,000 faith points. From low-level herbs for refining pills to S-level and even stellar-level weapons and equipment. In short, anything he can think of can be obtained in the mall by consuming the corresponding faith value. Of course, the exchange price is very high. Lin Sheng took a look at his only 107 points of faith, then looked at the hundreds of thousands of dollars needed for a stellar weapon, and silently closed them all. Before he figured out how to obtain faith points, it would be difficult for him to gain any benefit from it. It is a very unwise decision to waste a lot of time and energy on something with too much uncertainty. Seeing Lin Sheng's eyes leave the holy spring, Hong Ziyi, who had been silently guarding the side, asked tentatively, "You have reached the star level, right?" Chapter 37. Lin Sheng felt a little uncomfortable with Hong Zi's sudden honorific. "You know, the last time this guy talked to me, he called himself Wu in a very high-handed manner and extended an olive branch to me. As a result, in the blink of an eye, that kind of superior attitude has completely disappeared, and the humility seems to have changed into a new soul. It seems that you have also reached the stellar level." Hong Ziyi nodded. "Ever since I became the Demon King, I have felt a mysterious fluctuation of supernatural power from time to time. This energy fluctuation is very obvious, but I can't accurately capture where it comes from. This feeling is like a force that has transcended the spatial dimension and seeped out from other spaces. Yes, I also had this very subtle feeling when I broke through the star level. The talents of the monster clan are indeed extraordinary. How long have you started practicing, and you have already reached the stellar level? Although Lin Sheng was surprised, he was not too surprised at all. After all, Hengzi is not an ordinary monster. As the king of the monster clan, it is normal for him to touch the current highest realm of Blue Star. According to the narrations of other demon kings, Hengzi's strength surpassed that of the demon king when he was born. As for its promotion to demon emperor, that was also a recent event. This also made Lin Sheng feel somewhat fortunate, because whenever Hengzi reached S level, he would directly launch a full-scale attack on humans. Then, all mankind will have no room for resistance. Over the years, the reason why the Tianxing Alliance and other humans have been able to live in peace is mainly because he has blocked most of the pressure. Once the demon emperor intervenes, he, the only S level, will inevitably be forced to fight Hengzi. If he had not been promoted to the star level, he would have a 50-50 chance of winning against Hengzi at best. How could he have the energy to deal with other monsters while he was busy taking care of himself? He was excluded, and the remaining psychics of the Tianxing Alliance were simply unable to resist the invasion of the monsters. A-level psychics can only kill a few demon kings with their numbers, but as for the existence of demon emperors, it is only possible to seriously injure him if you risk your life, but it would be very difficult to kill the demon king. Fortunately, none of these assumptions are likely to hold true. Then can I ask you to give me some guidance? There was a hint of hope in Hengzi's tone. I have been disturbed by the supernatural power fluctuation for a long time. If it continues like this, I'm afraid it will be bad. Lin Sheng spread his hands helplessly and said, it's not that I don't want to help you, but this state of enlightenment is only perceived by yourself. From the time I came into contact with you until now, I have not sensed any strange aura, nor have I detected any abnormal fluctuations in supernatural powers. I thought Hengzi would continue to ask questions about this topic, but who knew that this guy would change the subject and drop another bombshell? The pinnacle of this world's realm doesn't seem to stop at the stellar realm. Beyond the stars, there are other realms. Lin Sheng was filled with turmoil when he heard this. He stared into Hengzi's eyes, trying to read more information about the unknown realm from them. Hengzi's expression remained unchanged, and his calm voice revealed a sense of vicissitudes. In the ancient memory fragments passed down by my clan, they are scattered in my sea of a consciousness like stars. Occasionally, they flicker and allow me to glimpse a glimpse of the brilliance that surpasses the star level. That kind of mighty power that can overturn mountains and seas, destroy stars and break the moon, is probably even beyond the realm of stars. Above the stellar level? Lin Sheng also had such doubts when he was promoted to the star level. But because Lan Xing had a great lack of knowledge about the current level of psychics, he was unable to come up with an accurate answer. The monster race has an inherited memory, on the one hand to ensure that the race can reproduce and thrive. On the other hand, it provides opportunities for future generations. After a moment's silence, Lin Sheng took out a crystal core from the storage space. This is a projection crystal, and the images saved by supernatural powers can be injected into it. Next time you see those ancient scenes, be sure to preserve the images in your memory. This may allow us to reach a higher level. Whether it is a blessing or a curse, we have to wait and see before we make a conclusion. Seeing that Hengzi was slow to take the crystal core, Lin Sheng was stunned at first, then he reacted and an awkward smile appeared on his face. How could he have forgotten this? The raw material for making projection crystals is the crystal core of monster beasts. He gave the projection crystal to Hengzi, which was like giving a human skull to another human being to use. Although there are many containers and tools made of bones in human history. But among the monsters, this behavior is no less than riding on Hengzi's head and shitting. This guy didn't explode on the spot, probably because he was giving some face to the only star-level person on the blue planet. The Demon Beast clan has other means of preserving projections. You should put this away for now. Lin Sheng nodded awkwardly. No matter how to put it, he was still in the wrong in this matter. That's it for today. This sacred spring is indeed very subtle. I will try to practice it and see if I can improve my supernatural powers. Seeing that Lin Sheng had ordered him to leave, Hengzi had no reason to stay here any longer and left tactfully. But just after he left, Lin Sheng's eyes flickered, and the look he gave towards Shen Chuan changed. When he came into contact with the sacred spring, the system already prompted that there were valuable treasures nearby. You know, the system can even exchange for stellar-level equipment and weapons at will. Even the system thinks it is a treasure, how can it be bad? It's just that when Hengzi was here just now, he was embarrassed to go deep into the sacred spring to find out what was going on. It would be embarrassing if something went wrong and the healing ability of the sacred spring was lost. But now, it's different. As long as Hengzi is not here, even if something really happens, he can find 10,000 excuses to cover it up. He looked again and again at the area outside the spring, and it was no longer worth exploring, so Lin Sheng went straight into the water. As he went deeper, a cool and vital force surged into Lin Sheng's body from the spring water, making him feel unprecedented comfort and relaxation. At the spring, the water seemed to flow more rapidly, forming a small vortex that continued to rotate. The suction created by this vortex sucked the surrounding water into it, and then flowed back in a very strange way. But Lin Sheng could clearly sense that the water that was exchanged back already contained the unique restorative power of the divine spring. The core lies in the inside of the vortex. Lin Sheng stretched out his hand and gently touched the edge of the vortex. A gentle but powerful force flowed into his body along his fingertips, causing him to tremble all over. At this moment, the system prompt sounded. Suddenly. Chapter 38. Ding. A space rift has been detected. This space rift is not open. Do you want to force your way in? No wonder. Lin Sheng showed an expression of sudden enlightenment. No wonder he hadn't figured out what was going on outside. Space rifts that have not yet been opened cannot be detected or entered by any normal means. The open space rift can be called an independent world to some extent. To put it in more popular terms, it is a relic. For example, the weapons, elixirs, and various other miscellaneous items obtained by the Tianxing Alliance. These are not all the items on Blue Star, and the only way to obtain them is to find the corresponding containers in the ruins. What amazed Lin Sheng the most was the powerful function of the system, which could even force entry into space cracks that had not yet been opened. I wonder what the inside of this sacred spring looks like? Enter. Ding. The spatial rift has been analyzed. Transmission will begin in 3 seconds. Please be prepared. The 3-second countdown passed in a flash, and the scene in front of Lin Sheng suddenly became blurred, as if the whole world was distorted by an invisible force. By the time he reacted, he had been forcibly pulled into an unfamiliar space, where darkness was everywhere. But in this darkness, one can vaguely see the faint fluorescence spread in the air, dotted in the void like stars. Among all these bizarre sights, the most eye-catching thing is the clear spring water suspended in the air. The spring water flowing down from the sky did not leave any trace on the ground, as if it was flowing to another space. And at the source of the spring, waves of spiritual energy that were so dense that they were almost materialized continued to gush out. That is the original power of the divine spring, pure and powerful, enough to drive any living being crazy. Under the reflection of this power, the darkness around no longer seemed so oppressive, but instead had a kind of holiness that made it difficult for people to look directly at it. Even Lin Sheng, who had successfully advanced to the star level, was quite shocked by this. No wonder even the system thinks it is a treasure. Not only does it have an independent space, but the power it radiates is also so pure. Lin Sheng tried to use his supernatural power to block the spring water, but the moment his supernatural power came into contact with the spring water, he was swallowed up by the spring water. Seeing that the test didn't work, Lin Sheng could only start from the spring where the light was the deepest. In the center of the spring, there is a round transparent bead, colorless and lightless, but it can produce a faint glow that dispels the darkness. No matter how ordinary this bead looks, Lin Sheng would never dare to underestimate it, because he knows very well that this is not an ordinary bead. It is the source of the power of the divine spring and the core of this mysterious space. After several attempts to approach the bead, there was no obvious movement, and Lin Sheng gradually became bolder. With his right hand full of powerful energy, he reached directly for the transparent, colorless bead. But just when Lin Sheng was about to touch the bead, time seemed to slow down for a moment. Lin Sheng's consciousness still exists, but he cannot break through the limitations of time no matter what. The forward movement of the right hand was slowed down countless times. I tried my best, but it didn't move at all. Break it for me. Lin Sheng roared, and all the supernatural powers in his body gathered in his right hand in an instant. Lightning and fire shone together behind him, and a huge human-shaped shadow loomed. The full-strength pulse from the star level actually allowed Lin Sheng to break through the invisible barrier. The fingertips seemed to penetrate the boundaries of time and space, landing on the orb with unerring precision. At that moment, the entire space seemed to tremble. The fluorescent light in the darkness was like stars caught in a strong wind, spinning and colliding wildly, and the raging supernatural power scratched the surface of Lin Sheng's skin. Puff. Puff. When the number of tiny scars accumulates, the severity of the injury cannot be underestimated. But Lin Sheng showed no intention of letting go, and the wounds on his body continued to increase. The first push is strong, the second is weak, the third is exhausted. If he gave up now, then at least in the short term, he would have no chance to touch the bead. Fortune and wealth are sought in danger. If you don't even dare to take this little risk, how can you stand at the top? Perhaps it was because he sensed Lin Sheng's determination, or perhaps it was because that mysterious power was exhausted. After the two forces had been in a stalemate for 3 minutes, Lin Sheng's fingers finally touched the surface of the bead. At the moment when Lin Sheng's fingertips and the beads touched clearly, some kind of wonderful resonance seemed to occur between the two. A warm and gentle power surged out from the beads, instantly penetrated into Lin Sheng's fingertips, and then spread throughout his body. It was as if the warm spring sun penetrated the cold winter ice, making Lin Sheng feel unprecedented relief. Lin Sheng could clearly feel that every cell in his body was cheering. That pure spiritual power not only repaired the scars on his body, but also subtly purified and repaired his meridians and supernatural powers. The raging fluorescence gradually subsided, and was replaced by gentle rays of light that overflowed from the beads, illuminating the entire space like a dream. The energy fluctuations in the air became more intense, as if even breathing could absorb the purest essence between heaven and earth. Etc. Lin Sheng's pupils suddenly shrank, and even his breathing became tight. He suddenly realized that an extremely incredible change had occurred in his body. After absorbing the energy emitted by the bead, the originally only two attributes of supernatural power, thunder and fire, suddenly appeared as an extremely unfamiliar supernatural power. This scene was exactly the same as when he first acquired the lightning attribute ability. Ding! Congratulations to the host for successfully absorbing the energy bead. The attribute obtained by absorbing the energy bead this time is Holy Light Attribute Energy. The Holy Light attribute is the most advanced derivative attribute of the Light attribute ability, and possesses unparalleled healing power. Ding! Congratulations to the host for having a significant improvement in his abilities. He has reached the pinnacle of the star level. I hereby reward you with the secret technique Dharma of Heaven and Earth. 3 attribute abilities. Stellar level peak. This is a big profit. Lin Sheng himself was extremely shocked. If this were to get out, it would probably shock all the supernatural people in the world to death. Possessing 2 attributes was already incredible, and now he also possessed an attribute that had never been recorded in the world. Of all the supernatural attributes currently known to mankind, the most common ones are naturally water, fire, wood, metal, wind, and thunder. Some rarer ones include the attributes of light, darkness, and space. As for the so-called Holy Light attribute, it is unheard of. Chapter 39. After Lin Sheng completely absorbed the Holy Light energy pearl, the entire space rift became extremely unstable. A large area of a space turned into nothingness, and the previous holiness was shrouded by the aura of destruction on the verge of annihilation. After Lin Sheng was forcibly taken out of the space rift that was about to be destroyed by the system, he suddenly felt that the atmosphere around him was a little strange. When he looked up, he saw that many powerful demon kings and demon emperors had appeared in his territory without him noticing. Even Hongzi, who had just left not long ago, was also among the people waiting for him to come out. The sacred spring not far from him had dried up at some point, completely losing its former vibrant scene. Lin Sheng's heart skipped a beat. The source of the divine spring was the energy bead in the space rift. After he completely absorbed the power beads, the spring water was no longer input with the light generating power and was just some ordinary spring water. So, the so-called sacred spring naturally no longer exists. The monsters looked at each other with timid scrutiny, hindered by Lin Sheng's terrifying fighting power, but also unwilling to accept the scene before them. For a moment, I was in a dilemma. After mustering up his courage, a demon beast asked with a fearless look on his face, "Sir Supreme Demon Emperor, why did the sacred spring dry up?" The entire demon world was in turmoil just now, and there were violent fluctuations of supernatural power in your territory. The demon emperor sensed that the power of the sacred spring was disappearing. By the time we arrived here, the sacred spring had already dried up. Lin Sheng wasn't too panicked, but he felt a little guilty. After his thoughts became clear again, he quickly figured out how to appease these restless monsters. From now on, you don't need to worry about getting seriously injured outside and not having enough time to come back and soak in the holy spring. The power of the sacred spring has chosen me. Even if I am fighting outside, I can always heal your injuries. After Lin Sheng finished speaking, he raised his hand and blasted the monster closest to him. Blazing palm. A huge flaming handprint directly slapped the still confused Demon King away on the spot. Even though he was a Demon King, he was seriously injured by the seemingly random attack. He was not on the verge of death, but he was not in good condition either. But before the other monsters could react, an extremely holy light enveloped the injured Monster King. The method of instantly healing the seriously injured Demon King also caused many demon beasts present to become agitated. Hongzi looked at Lin Sheng with a look of confusion, but more of fear and shock. Other monsters might not be able to sense it, but he could clearly sense that this energy, which was of the same origin as the Divine Spring's aura, was emanating from Lin Sheng's body. Lin Sheng didn't lie. This is truly the power of the Divine Spring. I have tried countless times to absorb the power of the Sacred Spring, but the final result is without exception, all ended in failure. But this human had only been at the Sacred Spring for less than a day, and he had already accomplished something that the Sacred Spring could not do. Lin Sheng tentatively took out a crystal core from the storage space and injected a holy light attribute power into the crystal core. When this crystal core was placed in the spring, the flowing spring water was once again tainted with the unique recovery power of the holy light ability. Although it is much weaker than before, this kind of thing is always better than nothing. Lin Sheng breathed a sigh of relief. As long as he injected some holy light energy into the crystal core every once in a while, it would be able to last for a while. Only, piracy is just piracy after all. If too many monsters use the sacred spring to recover from their injuries, the special energy stored in the crystal core will be quickly consumed. However, poor quality is poor quality. The act of restoring the sacred spring instantly raised Lin Sheng's status among the demons to the top. The look that the monsters gave Lin Sheng changed from initial doubt to shock, and finally to fanatical worship. They witnessed with their own eyes how the Demon King, who should have been half dead, was healed in the blink of an eye by the Supreme Demon Emperor. As his breath recovered, he even became stronger than before he was injured. You have to know that the attack just now was so powerful that even now, the air is still emitting a blazing heat. If it wasn't for the Demon King who took the blow, other low-level demon beasts would have died on the spot. Moreover, they witnessed the restoration of the sacred spring with their own eyes, and the last trace of worry in their hearts disappeared. Instant healing? This level of healing ability is even better than the divine spring. If we can really enjoy the healing power of the sacred spring in the land outside the demon world, then no living creature in this world will be able to resist the attack of the demon clan. God bless the demon race. The arrival of the Supreme Demon Emperor seems to be to lead our demon race to the peak of power. The fanaticism of these monsters is not accidental, the status of Shen Chuan among the monsters is too high. After coming back from being seriously injured outside, you can recover by soaking in the spring water and then go out to fight again. Over and over again, they kept trying to attack, and it was precisely because of this infinite vitality that they pushed humanity to the point of almost extinction. This is the basis for them to recuperate, and it is also their last trump card to save their lives. During the time before the monsters first clashed with humans, anyone who could have enjoyed the healing power of the sacred spring would probably not have survived until the establishment of the Tianxing alliance. Nowadays, although the recovery ability of the fountain is far less than before, it has become a mobile fountain. As long as Lin Sheng is there, no matter how badly they are injured outside, as long as they are not dead, they can be resurrected with full health anytime and anywhere. How can I lose if I go out to fight with a mobile fountain? If before, they only surrendered temporarily due to Lin Sheng's strength, now they are absolutely respecting him wholeheartedly. An existence that can bring the demon race to a new peak is the most worthy emperor in their eyes. Even Hongzi, who had always been revered as an emperor by them, began to re-examine Lin Sheng. This guy is not only strong, but also talented. To some extent, it seems that he is more suitable than him to lead the demon race to prosperity. There is something I feel I must report to you. Hongzi's voice gradually quieted the chaotic monsters and also attracted Lin Sheng's attention. What's up? The Vanguard monster sent back news that the Human Alliance has sent 3S level psychics over, and they seem to be approaching the border. As for the monsters that have entered human territory so far, they do not have the capital to fight against these 3S level psychics. Hearing this, Lin Sheng showed an inexplicable smile on his face. This is easy, just send a Demon King over. Oh yeah, I'll go along too. In order to shut up those stubborn guys, I'll send the Demon King whose arm I cut off. I want to see how these 3 guys who keep saying they can replace me can fight against the Emperor level monsters. I want to see with my own eyes how desperate the top leaders of the Tianxing Alliance will be at that time. Chapter 40. Linyuan City. Tianxing Alliance headquarters. In an independent office, there were 2 figures in the room, and it was unknown what they were plotting. One of them sat upright on a chair, while the other knelt on the ground in front of him. You mean, the monster was commanded by Su Xingzhou. A monster that has been fighting against humans for 10 years is being ordered around by a young boy. Li Bei's, do you think I'm a fool? Zhang Qi looked at Li Bei's, who was kneeling in front of him without even daring to breathe. Veins popped out on his forehead and his temples throbbed with excessive anger. Mr. Zhang, you must believe me. At that time, some extremists threw some monster body parts into my house. I received a phone call while I was hiding. The person who called was a civilian at the border. He asked me for help, but he was attacked by a monster in the process. At the last moment, I heard Su Xingsu's voice. I spoke to him righteously, but he threatened me instead. Li Bei's frantically gestured in the air, but he was so nervous that he forgot all the arguments and points he had thought of before coming here. Zhang Qi pushed his glasses, his eyes full of scrutiny. The light refracted when the lenses were pushed made Li Bei squint unconsciously. Then why don't you hand in a copy of the conversation? This is the most convincing evidence. Without any evidence, how can you convince others with just your statement? If it's anything else, it's fine. But the key is that it involves topics related to monsters. Even if I believe it, it's hard to convince others. Li Bei felt his eyes go dark. It's not that he didn't record the video, but this video cannot be released to the public. Master Zhang, the civilian who called is the person who participated in the last trial. The content of his conversation with me is too sensitive. When this matter was mentioned, Zhang Qi's face turned serious. He looked around nervously and only spoke after making sure that there was no one else around. Didn't I tell you? Just keep this to yourself and pretend it never happened. Cut off all ties with these people. Li Bei said he was innocent. Mr. Zhang, I don't know where that person got my contact information, but it definitely happened. I understand. You go down first. There are many suspicious points in this matter. The specific handling requires further investigation. Before that, you'd better not cause any trouble for me. Otherwise you know. Zhang Qi looked extremely displeased and ordered them to leave. Li Bei opened his mouth to say something more, but when his eyes met Zhang Qi's face, which was so gloomy that water could almost drip out of it, he swallowed it back. Then I will take my leave first. After Li Bei left completely, Zhang Qi's annoyance had reached its peak. He raised his fist and slammed it hard on the table, making a loud bang. This sudden movement also alarmed the guards standing outside. Sir, is everything alright in there? It's okay. Go and call Luojin from the Superpower Corps for me. Yes. Just 10 minutes later, a man in military uniform walked into Zhang Qi's office. Isn't this Mr. Zhang? How come you have the leisure and elegance to invite me over for tea? Luojin and Zhang Qi seemed to be quite familiar with each other. As soon as they entered the door, they acted very familiar with each other and sat on the chair with their legs crossed. Lao Luo, this matter may be more troublesome than you think. Zhang Qi's expression still didn't improve. After he repeated what happened to Luojin, Luojin's expression also became serious. Old Zhang, you are obviously too concerned. Are you so sure that Li Bei won't lie? I invited you here because I don't trust him enough. Zhang Qi took out a file bag from the drawer and pushed it in front of Luojin. This contains Li Bei's file. Please help me investigate whether this guy has had any contact with anyone he shouldn't have in the recent period of time. Also, use your identity and privileges to retrieve all his call records. Remember, the content of the call should not be known to anyone other than yourself. It must be kept strictly confidential. Zhang Qi was not too worried about Luojin's ability, but he repeatedly reminded him about the confidentiality of the call. After all, apart from the dozen or so witnesses who testified against Lin Sheng in the court, only a handful of people knew about it. And Luojin happened not to be among those who knew the inside story. It would be a lie to say that he wasn't curious, but Luo Jin also knew that there were some things he shouldn't be curious about or inquire about. The fact that Zhang Qi, the secretary of the leader who holds a very high position in the alliance, paid so much attention to this must be an important event that will affect the development of the alliance. It is well known that the relationship between humans and monsters is tense. But now suddenly someone told me that there are very few humans who can coexist peacefully with monsters. This is simply unbelievable. But nothing can come out of nowhere, especially when the other party speaks so confidently. Leave this matter to me. It won't take too long, just a few hours at most. Okay, I'll buy you a drink after this is done. Ha 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 ha, after all these years, I finally got my chance to pluck the feathers from a stingy person like you. Why not wait for a better day? Tonight is the right day. It was not until Luo Jin walked out of the office laughing that Zhang Qi's expression, which had been gloomy, eased a little. Then he seemed to have thought of something and picked up an extremely exquisite small box from the table. There were delicate patterns carved on the box, and when Zhang Qi input his supernatural powers into the iron box, the patterns suddenly lit up. Then a projection appeared in the air, and 3 figures suddenly appeared in the picture. Mr. Zhang, Feng Yuanlong and the other 2, who were far away near the southern border, stopped the moment they received the projection and greeted Zhang Qi in unison. This seemingly unremarkable iron box is actually a long-distance communication device that ignores distance. The activation conditions are also very simple, just input supernatural powers into it continuously during the communication process. What's going on at the southern border? So far, everything seems to be going smoothly, and driving on the road is much easier than expected. According to preliminary estimates, we will be able to reach the junction of the southern border and the demon world in half a day at most. Zhang Qi nodded with satisfaction. The speed of the journey is not slow. You should work harder this time. When you return triumphantly, I will apply for rewards for you from the alliance. Chapter 41. When they heard the word reward, even the 3 people who had already been promoted to the S-level realm couldn't help but show excitement on their faces. The alliance's treasury contains many exciting things, but if you want to choose items from the treasury, you need to have the corresponding merits. Apart from forcing the 3 of them to the S-level realm, several years have passed since the treasure house was last opened to the public. They were not very interested in items like elixirs. After all, they had already taken too many elixirs in recent times. However, treasures such as weapons and other equipment are exactly what they lack the most at the moment. Although I have already started thinking about what type of treasure to get, I still have to do enough work on the surface. Feng Yuanlong patted his chest and said righteously, it is our duty to fight for the alliance. Even if there are mountains of swords and seas of fire ahead, we will not refuse to die. Feng Yuanhu and Qilai also quickly stated their positions. Please rest assured, Master Zhang, this mission will be completed successfully. There is nothing to be afraid of with just a monster. The attitude of these 3 people made Zhang Qi even more satisfied, and he completely forgot the annoyance that Li Bei's had just brought him. Considering that the people have been demoralized in recent times, I have prepared an opportunity for you to appear in front of the public. In about an hour, I will use the projection equipment to give you a live broadcast of the entire league. Pay attention to controlling your rhythm and environment. If conditions permit, kill as many monsters as possible within the live broadcast time. The faster you kill the monsters and the more powerful your methods are, the more beneficial it will be for your future interpersonal development. When they heard that there was still an opportunity to appear in public, the 3 of them became even more excited. Lin Sheng was famous in Dragon Country and even in the Alliance. Who doesn't know the name of the god of war of the Tianxing Alliance? The turning point of all this was when he got a nationwide live broadcast during a monster invasion. Later, after being promoted through various means on the internet, the name of the god of war gradually spread to other countries. Just broadcasting live nationwide has greatly increased Lin Sheng's popularity. If it is broadcast live across the entire league, it will definitely save you a lot of deters. If everything goes smoothly, maybe we can catch up with the popularity that Lin Sheng has accumulated over the past 10 years in a day or 2. After the projection ended, the 3 of them began to discuss issues related to the live broadcast that would be held an hour later. Let's not rush on our journey now. Let's take a closer look at the situation around here. It's better to keep a few more monsters. Otherwise, with the speed at which the 3 of us kill monsters, I'm afraid it won't take more than a few minutes before there's nothing left for the public to see. Alas, I feel that the border is not as dangerous as I imagined. It even feels like a large hunting ground to me. We have killed at least 800 monsters along the way, if not 1,000. At this rate, we should be able to kill all the monsters that have invaded our territory within 3 days. Mr. Zhang's worries are totally unnecessary. We will tell him about this great surprise after we have eliminated all the monsters here. Feng Yuanlong and his 2 companions were so confident that they almost defeated all the monsters along the way. No matter whether it is a soldier-level monster or a general-level monster, it cannot withstand more than a single move in their hands. During this period of digestion and absorption, they have already absorbed all the remaining medicinal power in their bodies. Compared to when he was promoted to S level, his aura is even stronger and his attack methods are even more fierce. As the only female among the 3, Qilai was very careful and discovered something that she found very unbelievable. Yuanlong, Yuanhu, have you noticed that although many places have been destroyed, the survival rate of civilians is much higher than before? I don't know if it's my illusion, but I always feel that these monsters only target people with special abilities. Many civilians were clearly in very conspicuous locations, but the monsters did not attack them. Instead, they killed the psychics who were farther away. Feng Yuanhu shook his head and said disapprovingly, it must be your illusion. Monsters are all bloodthirsty and murderous monsters. In their eyes, All living beings are only divided into their own kind and food. Perhaps they just feel that people with special abilities are more threatening. It is their biological instinct to prioritize solving threats, which has nothing to do with intelligence. That's true. After listening to Feng Yuanhu's explanation, Qilai didn't think any further about it. If the monsters really spared civilians on purpose, where did such a huge number of casualties come from? It's impossible that they were halfway through killing people when they suddenly received an order not to kill civilians indiscriminately, right? This is too ridiculous. She would rather believe that the 2nd Battalion commander rode an Italian cannon to Mars than believe that anyone would give orders to the monster. Wait, stop for a moment. Feng Yuanlong suddenly raised his right hand, signaling the two not to speak for the time being. What's wrong, brother? Feng Yuanhu asked with a puzzled look on his face, and looked in the direction Feng Yuanlong was looking, but there was nothing there. And he didn't notice anything wrong, not even a trace of supernatural power fluctuation. Qilai standing by was also confused. Is there a monster? Yes, but not entirely. I sensed a very familiar aura. Feng Yuanlong's face was gloomy. Do you remember the boy who was taken away by Lin Sheng in Jingshui prison? Hearing the name Lin Sheng, Feng Yuanhu and Qilai's faces looked a little bad. After all, they were S-level psychics, and being completely suppressed by Lin Sheng under the gaze of so many people was a complete loss of face. You mean? Feng Yuanhu seemed to realize something, and a hint of ruthlessness flashed in his eyes. Feng Yuanlong is very sensitive to auras, which is mainly due to his wood attribute ability that allows him to communicate with many mountains, rivers, and plants. Since being promoted to S-level, you can also index and sense the scent through plants within a certain range. Since he said yes, then it must be. After confirming it again and again, Feng Yuanlong gave a positive answer, yes, I sense that he is in danger at the moment, surrounded by a group of monsters, and is only 300 meters away from us. In that case, let's go and see him off. The two words send were emphasized very strongly, and anyone with a discerning eye could hear the meaning behind them. Compared to the two brothers' determination, Qilai was a little hesitant, but the alliance has a clear ban on private fighting among alliance members, especially killing each other, which is even more unacceptable. Who said we killed him? Being killed by a monster at the border makes sense. Even if we consider the worst case scenario, what if the alliance knows that it was us who did it? Even though he was highly respected in the alliance before, he is now just a guilty person who defected from the alliance. The alliance will not hold the three of us S-level psychics accountable just for an A-level psychic who has already betrayed the Tianxing alliance. What's more, not only our dragon country, but also various other countries are trying to use elixirs to accumulate S-level psychics. It won't be long before the status of A-level psychics will be greatly reduced. Over the years, the elite team of the alliance has not been idle, searching for ruins everywhere. There are still a lot of pills left from the ones we took. It's just that there are agreements between all countries, so no one country can dominate. Otherwise, our dragon country would have far more than just the three of us S-level psychics. If we can't deal with Lin Sheng, can't we deal with the people around him? It won't be long before S-class psychics from other countries will come to support us. I don't believe that Lin Sheng is strong enough to compete with all the S-class psychics in the world. If you decide to take action, you must act quickly. Otherwise, if we wait until Mr. Zhang is broadcasting the entire league live before we take action, it will be easy for him to use him as a handle. Seeing that both of them were so confident, Qilai didn't say much. The three figures turned into a streak of light and rushed towards the place where Su Xing's breath was emanating. Chapter 42. Southern Border, Makeshift Camp. When Su Xingzhou was closing his eyes to rest, he suddenly felt three auras locking onto him. The sense of crisis that made his hair stand on end instantly made him lose all his sleepiness. This feeling of panic and trepidation was something he had only experienced several years ago when he was stared at by a monster. A breath that is much stronger than one's own will cause the human body to tremble unconsciously, and the body's instinct keeps reminding him. Escape quickly. The dozens of monsters with him all entered combat mode at the same time. The low roars made the atmosphere even more tense. In the distance, strong winds were blowing, and the leaves were rustling. Who is playing tricks? Get out! Su Xingzhou forced himself to suppress his instinct to run away, and his mind became clearer than ever before. The monster clan has already issued an order not to attack him. The only one who has such pure malice towards him can be a human. This is the border. Not the Tianxing alliance. He was carrying out the mission assigned by Lin Sheng, and he would not retreat even if he died. You are about to die, yet you still dare to speak so shamelessly. You are indeed Lin Sheng's dog. Your temper is just as unpleasant as his. The moment Feng Yuanlong saw Su Xingzhou, the humiliation of that day came to his mind again, and the last trace of hesitation in his eyes turned into a fierce look. When he saw the faces of the three people clearly, Su Xingzhou suddenly felt that they looked familiar, but he couldn't figure out where he had seen them before. That day, Lin Sheng was always standing in front of him. In addition, his tendons and veins were broken and he could not move on his own. He could only see occasionally. It was not surprising that he did not have a deep impression of the three people. Let me introduce myself. We are the S-level superpowers of the Tianxing Alliance, and we are also the candidates to replace Lin Sheng as the god of war. You are now surrounded by monsters, why doesn't Lin Sheng come to rescue you? He can save you temporarily, but he can't save you forever. Su Xing's mind was working rapidly. He was not stupid, so he quickly guessed why these three people came. Then you don't have to worry about it. As for what you mean by being besieged, I don't quite understand what you mean. It's the breath of an S-class psychic. A general level monster spoke in human language, and when its huge body stood up completely, it looked like a small mountain. What a powerful human. If I could eat a piece of his flesh and blood, I would be able to improve my strength a lot. It seems that not all humans are good for nothings. After so long, a new S-class psychic has finally appeared. Ha 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 ha, but these three humans are still far inferior to our Supreme Demon Emperor. Who are these three humans? Are they worthy of being compared with our Supreme Demon Emperor? More and more monsters were speaking human language, which forced the three of them to pay attention to the situation they were facing. Although the number of monsters gathered in front of them is not large, the aura emitted by each one is strong. Some have even reached the peak of the Demon General Realm, and are only one step away from being promoted to the Demon King Realm. Yuan Long, these general level monsters have begun to gain wisdom, we must kill them first. The beautiful aura suddenly climbed to its peak state, and the supernatural power it exuded formed a vortex around the body. Yes, the monsters that have begun to gain intelligence have already understood that the enemy of my enemy is my friend. If they join forces with Su Xingzhou, it will be a real problem. Feng Yuanhe did not realize that there was anything wrong. He simply thought that these monsters temporarily stood in the same camp with Su Xingzhou in order to survive. These three people are not pushovers. They know that sometimes they absolutely cannot delay too much. Especially now there is not much time left for them to perform. They couldn't take action against one of the most talented players in the league in front of the entire league's live broadcast. This would inevitably affect their future development. The three S-level psychics attacked at the same time, pushing their powers to the maximum extent they could control. This momentum is very amazing. The gap between A-level psychics and S-level psychics is like a chasm that cannot be crossed. The fluctuation of supernatural power that almost made the heaven and earth change color formed an irresistible pressure. Su Xingzhou felt the oncoming supernatural power fluctuations, and his face turned pale instantly. But the fear in my heart disappeared in just an instant, and was replaced by endless determination. Brother Sheng, in the past, when you attacked the people of the Tianxing Alliance, it might not have been justified, and those who were blinded would have spoken ill of you, but now. I have a way that will allow you to legitimately get rid of these pests that are causing trouble to the world. Almost everyone in this world knows that you are my most respected elder brother. If they kill me, all your acts of revenge are justified. No one in this world will use the so-called grace of nurturing to morally blackmail you anymore. Even though I know you don't care about these things, I don't want Brother Sheng, who is perfect in my heart, to be criticized by them like this. Everyone in this world wants to betray you, but you are the most determined. I am very happy to witness you reach the top. Even if I die in battle, I won't retreat even a single step. Brother Sheng, I didn't embarrass you. Su Xingzhu's eyes suddenly burst into an intimidating light, and all the supernatural energy in his body flowed into his limbs and bones in an instant. The aura of an A-level psychic suddenly rose to a level that was about to surpass S-level. If the other three hadn't activated their superpowers together, the superpower fluctuations displayed here would have exceeded that of any one of them. The fearless fighting spirit moved Feng Yuanlong and the other two. This guy's talent is really terrifying. No wonder he was chosen by Lin Sheng in the first place. Now he can't be kept anymore. Once the seeds of hatred are planted, they cannot be eradicated. To cut the grass, you must remove the roots. Fujimi strangled. Curse flame. Bloodvine piercing. The three of them immediately used their strongest killing moves, and overwhelming vines and a sea of A fire instantly covered the entire place. The weaker soldier-level monsters barely had time to react before being pierced by the creepy dense vines. Some of the monsters were strangled to death, without even a chance to resist. Even their huge and tough limbs were broken by the thick vines, turning into snow and rain all over the sky, and the scene was extremely bloody. Su Xingzhou, who was at the center of the three terrifying powers, was not affected at all. Instead, he released an irresistible chill. The ground beneath his feet was gradually freezing, and everything affected by the cold air was covered with a thick layer of frost. Absolute zero. Because of the sudden appearance of a strong ice-attributed energy in the air, the surrounding air was filled with a chilly wind, and the temperature dropped significantly. The closer you get to the center, the more obvious the temperature drops, and even breathing becomes difficult. Chapter 43. The vines summoned by the brothers Feng Yuanlong and Feng Yuanhe were also affected by this cold air. Even the fire power summoned by Qilai couldn't immediately dissolve the ice power. It seemed that where Su Xingzhou was standing, there was an insurmountable ice barrier blocking all attacks. But, an S-class psychic is still an S-class psychic after all. No skills are needed, just relying on the terrifying fluctuations of supernatural powers is enough to crack everything. After Su Xingzhu's absolute zero lasted for 10 breaths, it was instantly defeated by these three relentless moves. The aftermath of the collision of the superpowers caused a large amount of smoke and dust to form at the explosion site. After the smoke and dust cleared, Su Xingzhou was already half lying on the ground, struggling to support his body with one arm. Most of his clothes were burnt by the fire attribute, and there were many wounds caused by the thorns of the vines. He didn't lose in the battle, nor in the moves, but only in the strength of his own supernatural power. If he is also an S-class psychic, he could definitely easily take on the full force attack from those three people just now, and could even take this opportunity to severely injure the other party. But there are no ifs in this world. You are worthy of the title of the most gifted A-level psychic to have been able to hold out for so long against the three of us. Seeing that Su Xingzhou was seriously injured, Feng Yuanlong finally breathed a sigh of relief. If three S-class psychics joined forces to attack with all their strength, and they couldn't even handle an A-class psychic. Wouldn't that make people laugh? Not far away. The number of monsters severely injured by the 3 men was also extremely exaggerated. All the soldier-level monsters below the general-level monsters were killed by this move. The general-level monsters were not much better, and those with slightly weaker strength had basically lost their combat capabilities. The stronger ones also suffered varying degrees of injuries, but their eyes were still fierce. The bloodiness that only belongs to the monsters erupted at this moment, and several black shadows rushed towards the 3 figures in the sky with the force of thunder. How dare a grain of light compete with the bright moon? Since you are so eager to die, then just go and die. Feng Yuanhe shouted loudly, and the green light of the wood attribute power immediately covered the surrounding area of a nearly 100 meters. The ground, which had just been silent for a moment, began to shake again, and more than a dozen thick thorny vines stretched out from the cracks in the ground. Those monsters that fought desperately were intercepted from midair and then fell heavily to the ground. Boom. Bang. A series of muffled sounds made the bloody smell in the air even stronger. Qilai was also not idle, and was finishing off those monsters that still had a breath of life. Although the fire attribute ability she used was not as pure as Lin Sheng's, it was greatly improved the moment she was promoted to an S-level ability user. At least when dealing with those monsters that have not yet reached the king level, they still have a unique advantage. It's time to end it now. Feng Yuanlong looked down at Su Xingzhou, who was half lying on the ground and couldn't move, and couldn't help but taunt him. Your current appearance doesn't seem to be much different from when you left the pure water prison. Lin Sheng went to so much trouble to rescue you, thinking you had great potential. It turns out that you are just a piece of trash. I will be merciful and save more oxygen for the world. A blood-red vine appeared from the ground and appeared behind Su Xingzhou without anyone noticing. At the end of the vine is an extremely sharp spike, which contains a toxin that can instantly make a downgraded monster lose its ability to move. With Su Xingzhou's current severely injured body, if he were hit by this attack, he would definitely die. Feng Yuanlong, who was about to kill him, suddenly had a changed expression, and looked up at the distant skyline in horror. Just now he noticed that a breath that made him feel palpitating was approaching here at an extremely fast speed. The feeling of coldness running through the body was so great that even the absolute zero that Su Xingzhou had just used was not even 1/10,000th as great. What frightened him the most was that his most proud breath detection method could not accurately locate the specific location of the breath. That meant that the owner of this aura was much stronger than him, even to the point where he couldn't detect it. Feng Yuanlong made up his mind and pushed the moves he had just used to the extreme, preparing to kill Su Xingzhou quickly. No matter who comes, or whether it is a human or a monster, it cannot change the outcome of Su Xingzhou's death. Human, stop your ridiculous behavior. A sound like thunder exploded in the sky, and the blood-colored vine that had gathered behind Su Xingzhou actually exploded on the spot. The sound waves generated by this voice transmission actually made Feng Yuanlong and the other 3 S-level psychics feel a surge of energy. If they hadn't reacted quickly and used their special powers to offset some of the sound waves, they would have been shaken to the point of vomiting blood. You call us humans, which means the creatures approaching us are not humans but monsters. This aura is so powerful that it might have surpassed the realm of a king-level monster. The Alliance has never recorded that there are monsters that can use invisible and colorless sonic attacks. Is it possible that the opponent is too strong? We can hardly resist the sonic attack alone. An existence beyond the king-level monsters. Could it be that an emperor-level monster is coming? Damn it! How could there be an emperor-level monster here? If it really is an emperor-level monster, it would be hard for the 3 of us to gain any advantage from it. Even though the 3 of them were full of confidence, they couldn't help but feel flustered at this moment. Facing a king-level monster, the 3 of them still had some confidence, but the terrifying combat power of an emperor-level monster was something they couldn't even imagine. The only record of the emperor-level monster in the entire Tianxing Alliance was the emperor whose arm was cut off by Lin Sheng. The price paid for that battle was extremely heavy, and almost all the A-level psychics at that time died. And that only caused the Demon King to suffer irreparable damage, far from killing him. Although they are now S-level psychics, who can guarantee that the monsters have not improved their realm over the years? Even if they are both Demon Kings, there is a difference between those who have just been promoted to the Demon King realm and those who are at the peak of the Demon King realm. What's more, in that battle, there were so many A-level psychics constantly distracting the Demon King's attention. Now there are only 3 of them present, and Su Xingzhou, as the 4th human, has no chance of cooperating with them. Even there is a possibility of becoming their enemy. Chapter 44. It is our honor that the Demon King has come in person. The Demon King has come to save us. Hehehe, damn humans have killed so many of our kind, they must pay the price with blood. The demon generals cheered immediately, and their listless auras also improved significantly. The arrival of a Demon King is enough to sweep away these 3 S-level supernatural beings. The sky seemed to be torn apart by an invisible force, and the shadow that covered the sky and the sun spread rapidly, completely swallowing up the already gloomy sky. Deep in the clouds, there was a faint rumble of thunder, but no lightning flashed across the sky. Everything indicated that what was about to come was definitely not ordinary. A dark crack suddenly opened up in the clouds, like a wound in the sky that would never heal, releasing a frightening aura. A huge figure slowly appeared in the space crack. First it was the tip of an iceberg, and then the entire body of 100 feet crossed the crack and descended. The huge body was as majestic as a mountain. The surrounding space seemed to be distorted by the Demon King's breath. The air became heavy and sticky, and a suffocating feeling of oppression could be felt with every breath. When their eyes came into contact with the Demon King's true body, Feng Yuanlong and the other 2's faces instantly turned pale, completely bloodless. This is a monster with huge wings. The black wings are dancing in the air, and the strong wind it stirs makes it impossible to open your eyes. The scarlet eyes were extremely intimidating, and just being stared at made the blood in my body freeze. This is Demon King Shuiwu. Damn it, it's really the Demon King who's here. Whatever you fear will come true. I would rather face 3 Demon Kings than 1 Demon Emperor. The difference in strength is too great. The 3 of them were so nervous that they could only hear their own hearts beating and their extremely disordered breathing. Shuiwu, the only Demon King currently known to mankind. According to the limited information, Shuiwu can restore his supernatural powers by sucking blood. The stronger the host of the absorbed blood, the more obvious the recovery will be. When Shuiwu invaded the border, he was almost exhausted by Lin Sheng and many A-level psychics, but he immediately returned to his peak after consuming the corpses of several A-level psychics. Possessing a strong recovery ability means that it can restore itself to its peak state at any time. This is an ability that humans have never possessed. Don't panic. It had its arm cut off by Lin Sheng, so it shouldn't be that strong. Feng Yuanlong focused his gaze on Shui Wukong's empty right arm, and a surge of hope suddenly emerged in his heart. After being reminded by Feng Yuanlong, the desperate eyes of Qilai and Feng Yuanhe barely regained some light. Yes. A Demon King who has been defeated by the Alliance must be much weaker in strength. Also, there aren't that many superpowered people around here to provide Shuiwu with opportunities to absorb food. Lin Sheng, an S-class psychic, was able to hold out for so long in Shuiwu's hands, so the 3 of us S-class psychics can't be that bad. That's right. What Lin Sheng can do, we can do too. What he can't do, we can do even better. Feng Yuanlong glanced at the time on his watch. There were only a few dozen seconds left before Zhang Qi said the live broadcast of the entire league would begin. Today, the 3 of us will kill the Demon King in front of all the members of the Alliance and the civilians. As soon as these words came out, Feng Yuanhe and Qilai felt their blood boiling and their eyes became extremely hot. If they could really kill the Demon King under the watchful eyes of so many people, their achievement would be the pinnacle in the history of the Alliance. At the same time, Zhang Qi also ordered the Alliance's projection equipment to be turned on, and a huge light curtain appeared out of thin air directly above the 4 major cities. The image displayed on the screen was a real-time projection of the current location of Feng Yuanlong and the other 2. This is the first time that the Tianxing Alliance has conducted a projection across the entire alliance since its creation. Hehehe, I've never witnessed an S-level psychic killing a monster with my own eyes. Today I'm really lucky to see it. Yes, in the past, there was only one S-level psychic like Lin Sheng, and very few people saw him take action. Most of those who spoke were civilians, and a large number of them had never seen the bloody scene from beginning to end. Therefore, they are very interested in and looking forward to the battle scenes between the psychics and the monsters. Before the projection began, a large number of idle people had already gathered in the 4 major cities. When the projection officially appeared, the number of people watching the projection increased exponentially. Especially when everyone saw the huge monster standing in the air, they showed incomparable excitement. Why is this monster so huge? Although I haven't come into direct contact with it, the aura it exudes from the image alone makes me feel terrified. This size doesn't seem like an ordinary monster. It must be at least a king-level monster, right? No, you are just too ignorant. King-level monsters are usually not this huge. And look at its right arm. A few years ago, when the god of war Lin Sheng was still around, he once cut off the right arm of a demon king. I was lucky enough to see the scene at that time. From the aura emitted by this demon beast and the wounds it has sustained, we can basically tell that this is the demon king whose arm was cut off. I can't believe these 3 people are so quiet that they can't make a big splash. Not only did they kill so many ordinary monsters, they even caused trouble for the Monster King. If they can really kill the Demon King, it will definitely be a great thing for the entire alliance. The great expectations shown by the people also made the top leaders of the Tianxing Alliance, who saw all of this, very pleased. Judging from the current development trend, all progress is within their expectations and control. As long as these 3 S-level psychics can kill the one-armed Demon King, the effect achieved will be much better than expected. But for some reason, Zhang Qi always felt a little flustered. The ominous premonition lingering in his heart made him extremely anxious and uneasy. What's going on? This inexplicable feeling of uneasiness is definitely not accidental. Southern border. The only feedback from the projection was a huge eyeball that appeared out of nowhere right above the southern border. This eyeball is made of supernatural energy, but it floats in reality like a substance, and its surface has incomparably delicate patterns. The moment this eyeball appeared, Shuiwu had already felt the strange fluctuation of supernatural power. As the Demon King, it possesses extremely high dignity, and it feels very uncomfortable being spied on by humans using stupid means. Just as it was about to reach out and crush the giant eyeball, it received a voice message to stop it. Don't worry, don't you want to see the desperate expressions of those bastards? The Supreme Demon Emperor. Shuiwu was slightly stunned, then raised his head to take a look at the sky which was completely covered by dark clouds. Chapter 45. At this moment, Lin Sheng was standing on top of the clouds, and the aura around him was completely sealed. So much so that even the Demon King Shuiwu didn't notice that he was approaching, let alone the lower-level demon beasts and the 3S-level psychics. Don't make it public. Just pretend that you haven't discovered me yet. Now is not the time for me to appear. That eyeball is called the far-sighted eye. Through special means, it can project images in real time within the 4 major cities. According to the methods of the Tianxing Alliance and my understanding of them, there must be at least nearly 1 million humans watching you right now. If you can defeat these 3S level psychics under their attention, you can make them experience true despair. After listening to Lin Sheng's explanation, a cruel look flashed in Shui Wu's huge pupils. I understand, Lord Supreme Demon Emperor, I will crush these 3 ants while they are waiting. If you are interested, I think you can be a little more cruel, preferably. Let them die little by little in pain. After Lin Sheng finished saying this, he stopped talking. After receiving the order, Shui Wu's eyes suddenly showed a fierce light. Demon King Shui Wu's order. The Supreme Demon Emperor has spoken. He will give you 3 the most painful death in the world. Shui Wu stretched out his scale-covered left hand, and the strange scarlet power that looked like blood instantly formed hundreds of blood-red bats. These countless blood-colored bats rushed towards the 3 people at an extremely fast speed the moment they formed. Feng Yuanlong and the other 2 did not dare to be careless, because they were facing a demon king who killed people without blinking an eye. The birth of a demon king requires the flesh and blood of at least thousands of superpowers to nourish it, and the number may even be more exaggerated than this. If you still want to hide your incompetence at this time, you will have to hide it until your next reincarnation. The live broadcast has begun. Let everyone in the league see that the 3 of us are definitely capable of replacing Lin Sheng, or even surpassing Lin Sheng. Don't hide your secrets. If we don't get rid of them in a second, the 3 of us will die here today. Kill it and you will be successful. Feng Yuanlong poured out all his special powers without any reservation and gave a look to Feng Yuanhe beside him. The 2 of them are indeed brothers, and their level of tacit understanding is far beyond what an outsider like Qilai can compare to. The 2 wood-attributed abilities, which were almost identical in origin, were exerted to their full potential at the same time under the desperate efforts of the 2 people. The surrounding forests seemed to be responding to the call of the supernatural power and were undergoing drastic changes. The seedlings broke free from the soil and grew wildly upwards. In a few breaths, they turned into tall, towering trees that blocked out the sun. Vines of varying thickness and length emerged from cracks in the ground, like a group of awakened snakes, stretching into the air with no intention of stopping. Under the influence of such a powerful wood-attributed power, even some wastelands have begun to show a little green. The air is filled with the breath of life, and every inch of land is shining with green light. Many civilians watching the projection were shocked. They had never seen such a massive move before. The range of this ability is too wide. It covers an area of at least 10 kilometers. The degree of fusion of these 2 people's abilities is too high. The effect of stimulating abilities of the same attribute together is definitely greater than 1 + 1 = 2. 2S level psychics working together, even if they can't kill the Demon King instantly, they can at least cut off its other arm. Who said that Lin Sheng is the only one in the world who can save us? Aren't there 3 more strong men protecting us now? Ha 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 ha, we had no choice before, so scum like Lin Sheng got to enjoy the blessing for so many years in vain. Now that 3 new S-class psychics have intervened, the security of the border will be much stronger than before. Those civilians who had previously stood up for Lin Sheng, now sided with the Tianxing alliance like fence-sitters. In fact, they don't care at all who paid for them and how much they paid for them or what price they paid. What these people are most worried about is whether they can continue to live in a comfortable and safe environment. Now that their biggest concern, survival, has been resolved, all they said before will be forgotten. As long as the Tianxing alliance can provide them with a stable environment, they will unswervingly follow public opinion to judge the so-called criminals. Not bad, not bad. These 2 people really gave me a big surprise. They actually developed a secret fusion technique. Zhang Qi, who was also watching the game, had a smile on his face. A little green light was reflected on the lenses of his glasses. He nodded towards the sky with satisfaction. A member of the Tianxing alliance standing next to him asked in confusion, Master Zhang, what is the fusion secret technique? The so-called fusion secret technique is a secret technique performed by 2 people with the same attributes. Normally, only 2 people who are blood-related and have a high degree of tacit understanding have a chance to perform it. This fusion secret technique is completely invincible in battles of the same level, and even killing opponents of higher levels is not a dream. So that's it, it's just the Demon King. If it was a Demon King in his prime, this level of attack would not be enough, but this one is already half crippled. Zhang Qi's eyes flashed with disdain. Lin Sheng, that rubbish, was able to cut off the Demon King's arm, so a fusion technique of this level can certainly do the same. The moment the fusion secret technique took shape, the 2 brothers Feng Yuanlong and Feng Yuanhe shouted at the same time. Heaven and Earth Prison. The branches of the trees twisted sharply, rising into the air like thousands of giant dragons, with their tips pointing straight to the sky. The target was Shui Wu, who was floating in the air. The vines are even crazier, not only spreading from the ground, but even extending from other plants. The thorny vines intertwined into an impenetrable green net, approaching Shui Wu at an alarming speed. This momentum seems to be strangling him alive. The blood-colored bats that were released by Shui Wu earlier were blocked by the dense vegetation before they could get close to the 3 people. They turned into dots of blood-colored energy and disappeared in the air. There was also a flash of astonishment in Shui Wu's eyes. This attack was indeed capable of threatening it. But it just threatens it. Blood demon spirit, purgatory spirit, swallow my demon blood and obey my command. Kill. Shui Wu's huge body suddenly glowed red, and blood was oozing out from the surface of his scaly skin. Then, the blood that exuded a strange aura condensed into a phantom of a humanoid monster with horns in the air. When seeing this strange blood-colored shadow, Lin Sheng, who was watching the battle behind the clouds, showed an inexplicable smile on his face. Chapter 46. The biggest misunderstanding people have about Shui Wu is that they think this guy is very strong, but in fact, this is not the case. The real horror of Bloodless is that its ability is used for summoning, not for enhancing its own combat power. Rather than saying that it uses supernatural powers, it is better to say that it is a rather alternative summoning medium. The combat power of the summoned creature is even stronger than that of Xuewu's original body. And at the moment when the bloody shadow was summoned, Xuewu's aura was reduced for a moment. Even the Demon King could not violate the law of conservation, but the emergence of this bloody shadow made Xuewu Xiao even more cruel. Break. Just one word made the blood-colored shadow move instantly, and its sharp claw suddenly slashed in the air. The air was silent and nothing happened. Just as Feng Yuanlong and the other two were about to laugh at them, the mockery in their eyes instantly turned into fear. The giant vine net that was so dense that it made people unable to breathe turned into nothingness in an instant. Feng Yuanlong only felt a chill in his chest. Then a strong feeling of dizziness continued to invade his brain. When he lowered his head again, he saw a hand piercing through his chest. The rapid loss of blood will cause the body's various functions to be lost in a short period of time. Feng Yuanlong opened his mouth to shout, but as soon as he opened his mouth, more and more blood gushed out. Puff. When the arm that pierced through the chest was suddenly pulled out, a lot of blood splashed in the sky. The scarlet blood falling on the green grass was so eye-catching. Elder brother. Feng Yuanlong. Qilai and Feng Yuanhu's faces changed drastically. They had no idea what had happened in that instant. All this happened too suddenly. From the time the two brothers' fusion secret technique was broken to the time Feng Yuanlong suffered a severe blow, only a short breath of time passed. In such a short period of time, that bloody shadow was able to accomplish so many things. This strength. I'm afraid it's even stronger than the Demon King's real body. Is this really an ordinary summon? The attack was effective, and Xuewu raised a disdainful arc at the corner of his mouth. Is this the new S-class psychic of the Alliance? His demeanor is good, but his strength is far inferior to that S-class psychic. I'm even beginning to doubt whether there's something wrong with your judgment of the level of supernatural powers. Such a weak guy is worthy of the title of S-level psychic. S-class psychic? Nothing more than that. Faced with Xuewu's aggressive taunting, all the witnesses, including the two people at the scene, were speechless. How is this possible? How could the fusion secret technique be cracked so easily by the other party? How come we have never seen Xuewu perform such a strange move before? Did he just learn it? Aren't S-class psychics very powerful? How come one of them was killed instantly just after the battle started? That's a bit imprecise. Although he was badly injured, he's far from losing his life. Hehe, there's a big hole in your chest. Can you still continue fighting in this state? If you lose your ability to fight on the battlefield, it's basically the same as death. It turns out that the fighting power of the Demon Beast clan is so terrifying. With just a wave of their hands, they can easily destroy an S-level mutant. All the civilians and psychics who were watching the projection at this moment were shocked. The fusion secret technique that filled the sky just now really gave them the feeling that they could kill the Demon King instantly. Unfortunately. Now it seems that the feeling just now was just a more realistic illusion. Zhang Qi's expression, which had finally eased a little, darkened again, and he gritted his teeth and said, "What on earth are these three people doing?" The opponent regained the upper hand in a situation that was sure to win. What move did Xuewu use just now? Reporting to Master Zhang, the move he used is not in the Alliance records. It seems to be a brand new move. No, it's absolutely impossible. All the secret skills of the monster are almost innate. Lin Sheng almost forced it into a desperate situation. How could it be possible that it still has a trump card? Zhang Qi suddenly thought of a possibility, and his face darkened again. That can only mean that Lin Sheng has never completely opened his heart to us from the beginning to the end. He was the one who fought against Xuewu head-on, and he was also one of the few psychics who survived the battle. If he deliberately conceals it, we really won't be able to know all the details of this Demon King. Lin Sheng, Lin Sheng. So you've already noticed it. Lin Sheng looked at the chaotic scene with great satisfaction. No matter how powerful the fusion secret technique was, it could not be stronger than the trump card of a Demon King. Qili and Feng Yuanhu, who realized it later, raised their hands and rushed towards the bloody shadow at almost the same time. If you dare to hurt my brother, I will make you die with him. You bastards who can only attack by surprise. The demon beasts are indeed the most despicable race. Leaf Blade Storm. Sparks will spread all over the land. Two powers, one red and one green, with completely opposite properties, completely enveloped the blood-colored phantom. And under the full force of the two, the blood-colored shadow actually completely disappeared. Did it work? It looks like it succeeded. Although the attack power of that blood-colored phantom is terrifying, fortunately its defense is not very strong. Qilai breathed a sigh of relief, and the fear in her heart that almost completely overwhelmed her slowly receded like the tide. Just now, when Feng Yuanlong was pierced through the chest by the blood-colored phantom, she was standing by. The speed of movement was so fast that even she couldn't detect it, which made it impossible to guard against. Qilai had no doubt that if the target of the bloody phantom's attack was her, she would be the one who lost her fighting ability. This feeling is like the king of hell calling out names, whoever he calls out will die, there is no suspense at all. But Feng Yuanhu had no chance to relax at all, as he instantly appeared next to Feng Yuanlong who fell from the sky. Feng Yuanlong, whose chest was pierced, quickly lost his vitality. Not only were his hands and feet cold, but his supernatural powers also dissipated throughout his body. Xiaohu, you have to walk the road ahead on your own. Brother, don't scare me. Feng Yuanlong stretched out his blood-stained hand with great difficulty and gently placed it on Feng Yuanhu's face. But before he could utter the next sentence, his hand fell down weakly. No. No no no. This must be an illusion. There must be a way to save him. Kilai. Kilai. Hurry up and use your fire attribute ability to help my brother stop the bleeding. I will cover him from now on while you take him back to the Alliance for treatment. Hurry up. What are you still standing there for? Looking at Feng Yuanhe who was roaring hysterically, Kilai could only suppress her grief, turn her head away, and couldn't bear to look at him. This level of injury is fatal, and they have very little time to react. What's more, the number of people with healing abilities is extremely rare. In addition, this is still at the border, and there are not many psychics, let alone healing psychics. Kilai calmed down and was about to persuade Feng Yuanhe to regroup, but the next second she suddenly opened her mouth wide, as if she had seen something horrible. Chapter 47. Wanho. Watch out behind you. The beautiful cry forcibly pulled Feng Yuanhe back to the real world from his sad mood. Even though Kilai's reminder was very timely, Feng Yuanhe reacted very quickly and left the location the moment the reminder came. But a flash of light still cut off one of his arms in an instant. A strong smell of blood hit him in the face. The moment Feng Yuanhe saw his right arm flying up, he also saw an extremely strange face. What the hell is this? Almost close to Fengjai Yuanhe, there was a monster about the same size as a human. The monster's head was unusually large, with a huge horn in the center of its forehead. The horn was not made of ordinary bone, but was translucent dark purple, and there seemed to be strange energy fluctuations flowing inside. Its eyes were sunken in its eye sockets, and its eyeballs were a strange blood red, like blood that was constantly flowing. Although the monster still appeared in a phantom state, just by looking at it, Feng Yuanhe felt that the fear hidden in the deepest part of his heart was revealed. When did this monster appear? Didn't we destroy the bloody shadow just now? Feng Yuanhe roared angrily, and at the same time quickly stopped in the air and applied first aid measures to the wound. Because there was nothing around that could stop the bleeding, he could only endure the pain and use torn clothes to tie up the broken wound on his right arm to prevent the rapid loss of blood. I don't know if you guys overestimate yourselves or underestimate me. How can a summoned creature be enough to play with you? Shuiwu's sinister voice made the two of them tremble with fear, and made all the spectators in the four major cities who witnessed this scene feel as if they were falling into an icy cave. So many monsters. It was clearly 3 against 1 just now. How come the advantage in numbers was reversed by the monster in an instant? Can humans really fight against the Emperor-level monsters? The gap in strength is too obvious. Besides Shuiwu, 5 blood-colored phantoms with different appearances suddenly appeared out of thin air. Including the one that was destroyed and the one that attacked Feng Yuanhe, 7 phantom monsters were summoned in such a short time. The point is that the strength of the summoned monster phantom is unknown, but it is at least at the level of a monster king. What made the humans in the 4 major cities most desperate was that Kilai and Feng Yuanhe didn't even have the possibility of resistance. There is not even the slightest possibility. This was almost a one-sided massacre, with all the limbs of the two being cut off with every attack from the phantom of the monster. No matter how powerful the two of them were, they could only delay the time of death, and the process was also extremely painful. But death is not the end of their suffering. Under the watchful eyes of everyone, Shuiwu used his supernatural powers to gather the 3 corpses together and forcibly cut off the heads of the 3 S-level psychics. Then he used his hair as a rope to tie the heads of the 3 people together and slowly floated towards the eye of farsightedness. Hehehe, they sent 3 fakes here, is it worth broadcasting it live to the 4 major cities? If this is all the strength you humans have, then I believe that under the leadership of the Supreme Demon Emperor, it may not take long to annihilate the human territory. If the person standing here right now was the S-level psychic who cut off my arm, perhaps I would be a little more afraid. Not all S-level experts are qualified and capable of hurting me. At least these 3 idiots are not among them. An overwhelming despair instantly spread across the 4 major cities like a plague. When the top leaders of the Tianxing Alliance saw the bad situation, they hurriedly cut off their connection with the far-sighted eye. The far-sighted eye, which had lost its connection with the supernatural power, closed instantly, and the huge projection light screen floating above the 4 major cities also disappeared at the same time. However, cutting off the images does not seem to be enough to quell the spread of despair. I don't know who started crying softly, but then the crying became more and more frequent and louder. It's over, it's really over this time. I thought that 3 S-level psychics would be able to protect us, but now it seems that this is completely wishful thinking. Just now, the Demon King seemed to have mentioned the god of war Lin Sheng. They are both S-level, so why is there such a big difference in strength? That's right. Although there were many A-level psychics participating in that battle, there was only one S-level psychic present. Could it be that the Alliance is lying to us? These 3 people haven't even reached the S-level realm. Not only did the people question the strength of those 3 people, even the top leaders of the Tianxing Alliance began to doubt their lives. They were also considering whether there was something wrong with the level, but they quickly denied this ridiculous idea. These 3 people are indeed S-level psychics. Because the level of a psychic is determined by the psychic crystals, not by human judgment. Therefore, there will be no subjective differences, and the possibility of misjudgment is infinitely close to 0. So where exactly is the problem? The leader of the Tianxing Alliance lost his last bit of hope and left in anger. Okay, I told you to find a way to solve the problem, but you didn't solve it, and instead made me even more trouble. If you can't come up with a solution within 3 days, then all of you get out. If you can't do it, there are many more people who can do it. I don't believe these people can still rebel against the heaven. The fury from the leader made all the alliance leaders present feel a strong sense of oppression. Zhang Qi, who proposed this live broadcast, became a thorn in everyone's side. Master Zhang really came up with a good idea. Now even the leader is angry. It looks like we all have to get out together. Don't put all the blame on me. You guys were also involved in this proposal. Zhang Qi's face turned as black as the bottom of a pot, and his expression became extremely unfriendly. These bastards. When they felt that this proposal could bring benefits, they rushed to sign it. Now that something has gone wrong, everyone is starting to shirk responsibility. His original intention was good. He thought that sending these 3S level psychics to the border to kill monsters would boost people's morale. At the same time, it can also increase the rapidly declining credibility of the alliance. It seems that he has backfired now. This live broadcast involving all humans in the 4 major cities has turned into a huge joke. Not only did it fail to save the Tianxing alliance, but its credibility, which was almost exhausted, intensified human doubts about the Tianxing alliance. The point is that this effect will not dissipate over time, but will become more and more intense like brewing wine. Because the projection image just now was probably recorded by many people using communication equipment, the speed of its spread on the internet is extremely exaggerated. Even if the Tianxing alliance took action to control it, it could not completely prevent the projection image from leaking out. Chapter 48. Many media organizations that wanted to seize the first-hand traffic dividends, regardless of whether the news was good or bad, just released it all at once. Just like that, the news of the death of 3S level psychics quickly spread throughout the world. Whether in reality or on online forums, they are all shrouded in an indispellable despair. Even an S-class psychic can't save us. Could it be that the downside of humanity is already a foregone conclusion? Damn it. Everything was going in a good direction before, how come it suddenly turned out like this? Didn't I say it long ago? Lin Sheng has been able to guard the border for so many years. It's not just his achievements, but also his hard work. Who else can have this ability? What's the point of saying this now? Lin Sheng is no longer the god of war recognized by the Tianxing alliance. Hehe, sometimes I really don't understand what's going on in the minds of the top leaders of the Tianxing alliance. You left a powerful war god alone and cultivated 3 useless ones. Now, you have angered those monsters. Don't act like a hypocritical big shot here. You scolded Lin Sheng a lot when he left. I was blinded by public opinion. Is justice delayed not justice? The ones who felt this pressure most directly were all the members of the Tianxing alliance. No matter which country they came from, they were all given a death order. Once you discover that someone around you is showing signs of leading public opinion astray, you must stop them immediately, even if you have to use force to suppress them. At this time, in a mansion in Linyuan City, a woman with a very good figure was pacing back and forth anxiously. Mom, don't worry. Although there may not be any superpowers from the Tianxing alliance stationed near you, there must be other individual superpowers. Tell them that as long as they are willing to bring you back, I will definitely find a way to arrange for them to enter Linyuan City as well. What? Are you saying that those individual psychics have already retreated? How so? He Luokeng's face turned pale, and his lips trembled slightly due to excessive fear. Her hometown is in a small border town, although it is still some distance away from the southern border. But a small town is just a small town after all, and it cannot be compared with the 4 major cities in terms of the defense power of the supernatural beings. In the past, she had thought about bringing her parents to Linyuan City to spend their old age. But because my parents couldn't get used to the pace of life in the 4 major cities, they stayed in their hometown to spend their old age. And now, the southern border has been defeated by monsters, causing a large number of psychics to approach the direction of the 4 major cities. Compared with people with special abilities, civilians who have no combat capability cannot compare with them either in terms of physical fitness or speed of travel. Especially for older civilians, their access to information is relatively limited, and coupled with physical reasons, they can basically only stay at home and wait to die. He Luokeng was really panicking now, because he found that he seemed to have no one to turn to for help. If it were any normal time, with her current status in the alliance and her good looks, she should be able to get some psychics to help her. But the alliance was in chaos right now, and no one responded to her trivial request, let alone anyone who dared to lend a helping hand. When He Luokeng was in a state of despair, she heard another urgent voice on the phone, Nizai. Your father is old and not as healthy as before. If we walk on our own, we won't get very far even if we die. The town where your uncle and aunt live has been attacked by monsters. It will probably reach our place in a day or 2 at most. Use your connections in the alliance quickly. Anything is fine as long as you can get out of here. Nizai, I remember you used to have a good relationship with that kid Lin Sheng. If it doesn't work, ask him for help. We know he is very busy on weekdays, but this concerns our lives. He is an upright and righteous child and will definitely not sit idly by. His mother's urging words made He Luokeng's breathing tighten, and his brain went blank in an instant. My heart felt like it had been stabbed by someone, empty and bloody. Lin Sheng? How could she have the nerve to ask him for help now? She didn't dare, let alone tell her parents, that the only bond between her and Lin Sheng had been completely broken the moment he left the Tianxing alliance. When He Luokeng thought about how he did not speak up for him in the court that day, but instead aided and abetted Li Bei's evil deeds under his threat, he felt that he deserved to die. Even if she said that Lin Sheng was a noble person in her life, it was not an exaggeration at all. If it weren't for Lin Sheng's introduction, she would have been just an ordinary girl in a poor town. If she had grown up ordinary, married, and had children, she might have died tragically in the mouth of a monster. He Luokeng remembers it very clearly. One day 10 years ago, Lin Sheng was dressed in fine clothes and riding a horse. With just a wave of his hand, he killed all the monsters that attacked the town. That wanton smile is still deeply engraved in her mind. But this young man who changed her life and whom she admired so much was slandered because she was too concerned about her reputation and future. A feeling of regret grew in his heart, and He Luokang felt like he was going crazy. But there is no regret medicine in this world. On this day, He Luokang begged everyone in the alliance, but the final result was no exception. No one paid attention to her vision as a small member, and no one cared about her emotions and thoughts. Get lost. We are so busy with the alliance's affairs right now, who has time to care about your private affairs? Hey, you're already crying after just a few words? Don't cry at my desk, you've soaked the documents. Let me be frank with you. In the past, everyone was polite to you just for Lin Sheng's sake. Do you think you can get on board Li Baizi's big ship by doing nothing in the court? I tell you, you are totally wrong. Without Lin Sheng, are you qualified to join the alliance? Besides your prettier face, your supernatural talent is weaker than that guy Li Bai's. Now that your venomous heart has been completely exposed, you can even abandon those who have done you a great favor. Who would dare to have anything to do with you? There is no place for you in the alliance anymore. Not kicking you out of the alliance is already a great blessing to you. Chapter 49. He Luokang, who was kicked out of the alliance headquarters, sat on the steps and finally couldn't bear it anymore and broke down crying. Passers-by just looked at her with strange eyes, but no one came forward to ask questions, let alone comfort her. The clear sky was gradually covered by dark clouds, and raindrops as big as beans fell on the ground, raising a little dust. Then the raindrops became more and more dense, and pedestrians on the street began to run to avoid the rain. He Luokang just sat there until he was soaked by the rain, but he remained indifferent. For a moment, it was unclear whether the water flowing on her face was tears or rain. She now understood one thing, but it was too late to undo it. If that day, she did not participate in the trial court's frame-up. She did not accept Li Bai's sugar-coated bullets and threats in the court. Will the result be different from now? She regretted it. She really regretted it. But now, what can she change if she regrets? Southern border. After the eye of farsightedness was completely destroyed by Shui Wu, Lin Sheng's figure also descended from the clouds to the ground. Greetings to the Supreme Demon Emperor. All the monsters present knelt on one knee, lowered their heads and saluted respectfully towards Lin Sheng. No need to be polite, I will heal your injuries. Lin Sheng raised his hand, condensed the holy light attribute power into a ball of light in the palm of his right hand, and then sent the ball of light into the air. All the monsters that were illuminated by the light, no matter how serious their injuries were recovering at a speed visible to the naked eye. Lin Sheng was quite satisfied with the effect, which was a recovery method he created by himself. The initial name is bathing in holy light. Although the response time is a little slower, the coverage is very extensive. The main reason was that he had absolutely no knowledge of the holy light attribute abilities. Not only him, there may not be another living being on the entire blue star who knows the existence of the holy light attribute power. As for its application, it is even more difficult to start. This power, why does it feel like a divine spring? I was just about to say that this power was somewhat familiar, but I didn't expect you to tell me the result first. But isn't it true that the power of the divine spring cannot leave the demon world? How did the Supreme Demon Emperor master this power? Many monsters were puzzled. You know, Heng Zhe had tried to take the power of the sacred spring away from the monster world before, but he had never achieved any results. But now the power of the sacred spring has truly fallen on them. What is going on? Before Lin Sheng could respond, Shui Wu, who was standing beside him and enjoying the healing power of the holy light, took the lead in explaining, there's nothing to be surprised about. The Supreme Demon Emperor has already subdued the power of the divine spring. Now, as long as the Supreme Demon Emperor is willing, the power of the sacred spring can heal us all the time. As soon as these words came out, all the monsters in the audience were in an uproar. What? I just made a bold guess, but I didn't expect that this guess would actually be realized by the Supreme Demon Emperor. If we can enjoy the healing effect of the sacred spring in areas outside the demon world, then won't our demon beast clan be invincible? God bless the demon race. Long live the Supreme Demon Emperor. Seeing such a chaotic scene, Lin Sheng's mouth twitched twice. He hadn't said anything yet, so why did these monsters get excited? However, things are not as simple as these monsters imagine. He does possess the strongest healing ability in the world. But the price is that the energy consumed by healing is very huge. Even though he has reached the pinnacle of stellar power, it is impossible for him to provide healing abilities to living beings all the time. There is not much pressure in performing a small-scale bathing in holy light like the one now. But once the range is increased, the energy consumed is not just a multiple increase. Brother Sheng. Do you have 3 attributes now? Su Xing's heart was already in turmoil. He had seen Lin Sheng use both thunder and fire attributes before. I thought this was the ceiling of humanity, a peak that all people with special abilities would find difficult to surpass. But now reality gave him a slap in the face. Lin Sheng is not only the first dual attribute psychic in human history, but now he has also achieved the achievement of a triple attribute psychic. This. If you hadn't seen it with your own eyes, I'm afraid no one would believe that such an unreal thing could happen. It was just luck. Besides, light attribute abilities aren't considered rare. Su Xingzhou felt his self-esteem shattered. This wasn't a question of whether it was rare or not, okay. 3 attribute abilities. This is a 3 attribute ability. Remember, don't tell anyone about this. I hope you are the only human being who knows about this besides me. Lin Sheng specifically reminded him that the fewer people who knew that he had 3 attributes, the better. After all, human nature is too complicated. Even though there might be no one with superpowers who can threaten him in the entire Blue Star now, it is not a bad thing to be more careful. Good. Brother Sheng, I have followed your instructions and gathered all those innocent civilians together. What's next? Next, the vanguard team will continue heading north. Again, except for innocent civilians, all other humans will be dealt with according to the circumstances. As for the various strongholds of the Tianxing Alliance, destroy them all without mercy. Anyone who resists will be killed without mercy. After listening to Lin Sheng's arrangement, Su Xingzhou was slightly stunned. Aren't I going with them? I have other things planned for you. The first thing Lin Sheng thought of was the so-called faith value. This kind of reward point would have a huge impact on his future development. He didn't know the specific rules for obtaining faith value, but he only knew that it appeared when Su Xingzhou went on a mission. That means Su Xingzhou might have obtained this thing by accident. The top priority is not only to settle these scattered civilians, but also to find ways to accumulate more faith points. But he couldn't explain the system, so Lin Sheng explained it in another way. There are quite a few civilians. Food is the first necessity of the people. They need to eat. It is inappropriate to let monsters lead a group of humans to build a home. It takes time for crops to grow, and it also takes time to build habitats. The longer the delay, the more detrimental it will be for these civilians to recuperate. Right now, this mission can only be carried out by you. As for the issue of supervising them, we can probably put it aside for now. I believe they will strictly enforce it. Is it right? As soon as the 2 words right came out, the pressure from the peak of the star level suddenly descended. All the monsters present felt as if a heavy burden of tens of thousands of pounds had been added to their bodies out of thin air. Even raising their heads was a luxury. Please. Lord Supreme Demon Emperor, rest assured. We must strictly follow the orders of the Supreme Demon Emperor and carry them out to the letter. Chapter 50. After seeing the attitudes of the many monsters, Lin Sheng lifted the pressure. Only by combining kindness and severity can loyalty be more lasting and pure, so Lin Sheng gave a sweet reward immediately after slapping the man. With a wave of his hand, a dozen spots of light appeared. Upon closer inspection, they turned out to be more than a dozen general-level monster crystal cores. Compared to ordinary crystal cores, this one sparkles with a dazzling luster. During the battle with Xuewu, Lin Sheng had already injected the maximum amount of holy light power that the crystal cores could accommodate into more than a dozen crystal cores. Although the vanguard team sent by the monsters is not the strongest lineup, the speed of its advance will greatly affect the invasion efficiency of the monster army behind. I have prepared recovery crystal cores for you in advance. When you really need to be healed, just crush these crystal cores. But, you have to be careful. In situations beyond my control, the goal of healing is to not distinguish between friend and foe. Therefore, try to avoid enemies around you when using it. After Lin Sheng released these crystal cores containing the power of holy light, these monsters were reluctant to take them. Instead, there was a complicated look in his eyes as he looked at these crystal cores. There is entanglement, reluctance, and more importantly, a profound sadness. Lin Sheng certainly knew what they were thinking, which was simply that they didn't want to use the remains of their own kind to benefit themselves. This is much better than some evil-hearted humans. Gentlemen, the past is gone, but their sacrifice was not in vain. These crystal cores carry not only the power of the sacred spring, but also their will and traces that remain in the world. You have to understand one thing. Even if you don't use them, the crystal cores left in the corpses will dissipate after a period of time. Instead of wasting these crystal cores, it is better to make full use of them. I believe that if they knew about this, they would not blame you. If the existence of these crystal cores can help some of your monsters survive, it would be a great achievement. Fighting together with these crystal cores, isn't this also a form of fighting side by side? After Lin Sheng's persuasion, many monsters also began to convince themselves slowly. Yes. The bond of the same kind and the power of the sacred spring fighting side by side with me, just imagining it makes my blood boil. Thank you, Lord Supreme Demon Emperor. We will keep this teaching in mind. After distributing more than a dozen holy light crystal cores, the entire vanguard team continued to move north. However, Xuewu silently gathered together the corpses of monsters killed by Feng Yuanlong and his 2 companions. Sir Supreme Demon Emperor, please allow me to take them back to the demon world and return to their roots. Allow. Lin Sheng was somewhat moved. After spending some time together, it seemed that the monster was not as cold-blooded and ruthless as he had imagined and believed. On the contrary, their emotions are even more delicate than humans in some aspects. All the monsters had left, leaving only Lin Sheng and Su Xingzhou at the scene. Brother Sheng, the civilians have been relocated to the hilltop where you lived before at the Nanpu border. Shall we go straight over now? Lin Sheng nodded slightly. It must be said that Su Xingzhou was very careful in doing these things. The area near the house he built while stationed on the southern border was the most suitable place for human habitation. Continuing southwards is the territory of the demon tribe, while to the east and west there are water sources and forests for living. Whether it is survival resources or prey resources, the place is extremely blessed. The only drawback is that in daily life, there is a high possibility that monsters will cross the border. But now, monsters crossing the border are no longer a threat. When Lin Sheng arrived at the place where he used to live, he was also shocked by the scene in front of him. Why are there so many people? Everywhere I looked, I saw a sea of a euro people moving about. It seemed that there were at least 1 or 2,000 civilians active here. Thanks to you, Brother Sheng, for being decisive. If you had given me the order 1 or 2 days later, there would only be about 100 people left here at most. Thinking of this, Su Xingzhou couldn't help feeling a little scared. The monsters fought against the powerless civilians. It's even easier than eating and drinking. Without the blessing of supernatural powers, the human body is extremely fragile, even the lowest level monster. They can easily massacre half of the village. There's a new guy coming. Hey, why do these two people look familiar? Come quickly. The master of superpowers who saved us from the monster is back. There seems to be another person beside him. Could he also be a rescued civilian? Before the two of them had talked for a few words, someone with better eyesight discovered their whereabouts, and then a crowd of people gathered around them. Mr. Superpower, thank you so much. Although we can occasionally see traces of monsters here, they don't seem to have any intention of attacking us. Is it true what you said about humans and monsters coexisting? We really don't have to live in fear anymore. Is this also the mutant you rescued? Su Xingzhou quickly waved his hands to deny it, and then explained, No, the person standing next to me is the one who proposed and implemented the concept of coexistence between humans and monsters. You must be familiar with his previous identity. Is it the god of war Lin Sheng? Someone came forward excitedly, looking at Lin Sheng with an extremely admiring look. Only the god of war Lin Sheng can have such a shocking idea. If it were the scum of the Tianxing Alliance, they would definitely abandon us. Is it really the god of war Lin Sheng? I have only heard of his legend, but have never seen him in person. It's the living god of war. Where's my phone? I want to take a photo with the god of war. After all this flattery, Lin Sheng couldn't help but blush. It is true that he became famous at a young age, but he spent most of his time fighting outside and had few opportunities to interact with humans. It was precisely because of this that the top leaders of the Tianxing Alliance felt that he was an outlier who was difficult to control. Su Xingzhou smiled and continued, Everyone, please don't squeeze in. Brother Sheng came here to plan the scale of this place to facilitate your subsequent development. Although we are close to the forest and can hunt for a living, this is not a long-term solution. This speech quickly aroused the response of the people. Yes, we have this worry too. As expected of you, Lord God of War. You think about things much more profoundly than we do. I believe that under the leadership of Lord God of War, we will definitely survive here safely. The matter was of great importance, so the crowd soon quieted down. Having guarded the border for 10 years, Lin Sheng is more familiar with this place than anyone else. Therefore, he quickly selected the planting area, but before that, he needed to make some slight changes. A loud thunderclap came from the sky, drawing strokes on the ground like a paintbrush, and neatly sized pieces of land were divided out one after another. The troublesome trees along the edge were also chopped into pieces by the power of lightning, eliminating the need for cleaning. Now that we have the land, we also need to solve the problem of water resources. Lin Sheng slowly floated into the air, and after determining the location of the river in the distance, he instantly used nearly 50% of his supernatural powers. In an instant, the clouds in the sky changed color. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like and subscribe to the channel so you are notified of future uploads. You can find the next parts in the playlist visible on the screen or on my channel. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.